Rayner's abduction of Asia Argento 4. Continuing from our story last time, we see our heroine Asia dealing with Cockabeel as well as having the first encounter with the White Dragon Emperor. She then left for home along with two of her friends, Zenobia and Irina, since God's demise was revealed, making the swordsmen both excommunicated. She then set up two different bedrooms using her magic for the duo to use. Irina, what should we do? God is dead. I do not know what else is left for us to do. Irina said in a voice full of dread and despair. Zenobia, I realized our whole lives the church had lied to us. They knew that we wouldn't be affected if the truth never came out. We thought that the blessings received by God was genuine, but it was received by Archangel Michael himself, damn it. While Asia was not that affected by the truth, given that she lost her faith in God due to a certain incident, she was still affected by it to an extent given that once upon a time, she was also a nun who once had believed in God. She was also questioning about the blessings and realized how far the church had fallen. She knew that they would hunt her down given that she was the Red Dragon Emperor as well as the one who defeated Cockabeel. Asia, well, that was certainly a day knowing God's demise as well as meeting the White Dragon Emperor. I am still shocked by the fact that God is dead. I thought he would be alive. Considering the faith of people in God have reduced over the years, I should not be affected as much as a normal person, but here I am. Zenobia, how are you not much affected like us? Asia, well, I lost faith in him a long time ago due to realizing how alone I was during my fight against Rainier. I knew that no one was going to help us, so I had to fight him by myself. Asia said, shrugging. Zenobia and Irina were shocked at how the once strong devotee of God had all of a sudden lost faith in the man that was once her sole purpose of living. They now realized why people were losing faith in the man that once created humanity as well as the angels, and indirectly the fallen angels as well as the devils. They decided to return to their rooms given that it was a hefty day for everyone, and also that they needed rest due to the fight. In Asia's room. Asia, hey Draig. Draig, what is it, partner? Asia, what are your thoughts about God's demise? Draig, I am actually shocked as well as happy that the old man is dead. I knew that someday this might happen considering that he is not the strongest in the world after all. As for the happy part, he was the reason why my freedom was stripped away as well as the reason I am still trapped in this gear. Asia. Draig, do not act shocked. There are beings known as Ophis and Great Red that are way stronger than him. They are called dragon gods for a reason. Then there is Shiva, the god of destruction in the Hindu mythology, who is also stronger than him. Asia, you know what they say, before creation comes destruction. Draig, hahaha, you got that right, partner, now let's get some rest. Asia, yeah. But before they could rest, a red circle appears in which a devil appears before him. Asia, Harias. No, I am her older brother, Sirzechs Lucifer. Asia got ready to fight this unknown being. Sirzechs, I am not here to fight you, Red Dragon. I am here for something else. Do not worry, I won't hurt you or your friends. Asia, how can I trust you? Sirzechs, you have my word. What is your name? Asia, my name is Asia Argento. Sirzechs, I am pleased to meet you, Miss Asia. Thanks to you, nothing has happened to my sister or her peerage, as well as no war had happened between the factions. The Excaliburs were returned to the angels thanks to the actions of you and your friends, and because of that there was no war needed and the warmongerer got what he deserved. Asia, he sure did. He is the reason Issei is dead. He is the reason I am all alone once again. Asia said the last part crying. She breaks down when she remembers him. She still blamed herself for his demise. She knew that she wasn't strong enough to protect him, but she sure knew that such a thing would never happen. Sirzechs stiffened at this. As mentally strong as he is, he knew that it was her sister's actions that resulted in his demise. He knew that he was partly responsible for his demise. Draig, partner. Sirzechs could not control himself. He immediately got Asia into his embrace. The blonde was constantly weeping. She realized this comfort. She never had felt this comfort since a long time. She knew that someone needed to help her with her trauma. She wept endlessly into him and for a long time. Sirzechs, it is okay, Asia, let it out. Keeping it bottled in would only make it worse. Asia cried endlessly into him. She knew that he might help her. Someone might help her. Hope was still there, that knew she needed to be hopeful given that things may get worse for her later on. Asia, drying her tears, I am sorry Lucifer-sama, I ruined your dress. Sirzechs, no, it is okay, I know how it feels to lose people. Sirzechs paused for a minute to let the blonde compose herself and then told her the reason for his invitation. Sirzechs, the real reason I came here was so that I could invite you to the peace conference happening between the factions. I want you to be there since you were the one that killed Cockabeel. Asia, why should I be there? Sirzechs, because we want an alliance so that we do not have more casualties in an upcoming war due to our differences. We also want to protect the sacred gear users from any attacks by the supernatural, and to train them as well so that no one will ever die again. Asia realized that this was a mission that she took up, a promise she made to Issei before he passed away. She knew that if the peace conference happened, then there will be no war and thus no more deaths. She knew that this is what Issei would have also wanted. She immediately realized what she needed to do. Asia, I will come with you guys. Sirzechs, great, the peace conference will happen in Kyoto Academy. You know where that is. Asia, yeah, I will come there on time. Sirzechs, thank you, Asia. With that, Sirzechs teleports out of there to prepare the conference along with Serafal. Little does she know that this might be a biggest disaster of her life. Asia decides to inform both Zenovia and Irina about the peace conference. She knew that they also needed to be there since without them the peace conference would never have had happened. She knew that with this conference such a thing known as peace would have never been possible. While Asia was heading towards the school due to the peace conference, she was met by an unknown yet familiar face. Asia, do I know you? Draig, partner, be careful, he is the white one. So we meet again, rival. Asia knew who this being is. He is the wielder of the White Dragon Emperor. He is the one that showed up after her fight with Cockabeel. She knew that he is strong considering he already unlocked his balance breaker. Asia, I take it that you are the White Dragon Emperor. You seem to be smart, you remember me. With that, Vali approached her. Asia got ready for her fight against the White Dragon Emperor. However, she knew that it may be destructive, so she had planned to take it far away from the civilian population. Chill, I am not here to fight you. My name is Vali, the current White Dragon Emperor. You seem to be very strong considering you managed to defeat Cockabeel. I had say you would be in the top 500 when it comes to strength alone. Our fight will be pretty good if you keep on training in order to become stronger. Asia, you flatter me, Vali. Vali, I would like to have our test of strength, a small match. Asia, like right now. Vali, during the conference is when we would actually fight. Asia, but isn't the conference supposed to be of peace? Vali, you will see, wait, and what rival? With saying that, Vali teleports out of there. She knew that she might fight him someday, considering Draig already informed her about the rivalry for generations as well as their inevitable fight. She considered training for the fight pretty soon. She was interrupted in her thoughts by Zenovia and Irina. Zenovia, so this is where the meeting is supposed to be held. Irina, yeah, it seems so. Asia, let's not waste much time and head there. I have a personal question for the Governor General of the Fallen Angels, Azazel. INX, yeah, let us go. With that, the trio head towards the school to attend the meeting of the Alliance. They were constantly getting stared by the males of the school. The trio were being uncomfortable with the stares. They knew they had to get out of there. Asia sighed. Asia, you will get used to it. Zenovia, probably never. The stares were making me uncomfortable. Irina, they berated Issei, yet they are far worse than us. They constantly were staring at us even when we were not interested in them. They humiliated and mocked my friend due to his perversion, yet they themselves are far more perverted than us. Asia, you got that right, Irina. The trio head towards the conference room where they could see Azazel, Michael the head of the angels, Sirzechs, as well as Serafal, another fellow devil king. Asia could also see the Gremory, Citri, and the Phoenix peerage. She could see that the condition of Rias was far better than what she was during the last time she had visited them. She knew that she has been keeping better due to the fight. Sirzechs saw that Asia had appeared in the conference. He was happy that she had appeared there, along with her two friends. Rias saw them and smiled as they made their entrance in hall. The meeting was about to get started. Sirzechs, so let the peace meeting begin. Michael, from what I have known, the whole mess is due to the fallen angel leader Cockabeel. I guess Azazel should take responsibility for what had happened. Azazel, I know this is my mess. Cockabeel was already a rogue subordinate of mine. I preferred to research sacred gears than have a war. I am a collector. Cockabeel did not like my stance on the war, therefore he went rogue. He therefore is responsible for his own fate. Azazel said nonchalantly. Michael was skeptical. Sirzechs sighed at Azazel's carelessness. He knew that he does not want the pressure of being blamed. Asia could only view at his carelessness and wonder if he is really fit for being a leader. She wanted to ask about the actions of the fallen angels, since they were the ones that did most of the damage to the human population due to them being the sacred gear wielders. She also wanted to ask Michael about the excommunication of both Irina and Zenovia. Seraphal, now we can stop blaming each other and just make peace already. I want to go home for my magical girl shoot. Sirzechs, Seraphal is right, we also declare peace. Michael, I see no reason to not fight, I too declare peace. Azazel, that's more like it, even I declare peace. With that the peace treaty was signed. Azazel then asked both the emperors on what their opinion on peace was. Vali, I just want to fight strong opponents, I really do not care about peace. Asia, I have a dream to protect the sacred gear wielders from the supernatural. It seems like my dream of protecting the sacred gear wielders is now going to be a reality, so I have no desire to be against this peace. But know this, I am not against the recruitment practices of humans by the devils into the supernatural, given it is their choice. So with that the treaty of peace was declared. Asia then decided that it was the right time to ask her question. Asia, I need to ask Azazel about this. Why weren't you there to prevent the fallen's execution of innocent human because of their sacred gear? It was because of this Issei had died, because one of your subordinate Rainier killed him for his sacred gear. Azazel knew what she meant. He was briefed about Issei by Sirzechs. He blamed himself responsible for not stopping Cockabeel when the time was right, nor did he try to save Issei himself. Riaz once again became depressed when Asia mentioned about the chestnut's demise. She still had nightmares about his death. She knew that she wanted to at least befriend Asia, as it may at least give her inner peace. Azazel, I know this is my fault. I blame myself for not stopping them before it was too late. I also know that you were doing my job of stopping them before it is too late. I do not hold you accountable for their deaths. They knew what they were doing. From what I have heard, you even gave them a chance to surrender, but they refused. So thank you, Asia Argent. With that, Azazel stood up and bowed towards Asia. The blonde was shocked at this expression. She knew that no one would bow unless they are grateful for what that person did. She then asks Michael her question. Asia, Lord Michael, why was Irina and Zenovia excommunicated? Michael, it is because I did not want anyone to know about his demise. It would cause all-around chaos. We already are losing a lot of believers in God over the past 500 years, ever since he died. Things are not better since we have been losing the angel population, since not only our powers have dwindled due to the lack of believers, but also we have no way to bring in new angels since their creator is dead. To further prevent people from leaving the church, we decided to keep this a secret as well as excommunicate those who may be a threat to its beliefs as well as anyone that knew about God's demise. Asia, I see. With that, Sirzechs had concluded the meeting. It was decided in the meeting that the factions would help each other in the re-establishment of the factions. The devils would share their evil peace technology with the other two factions. The fallen angels would share the sacred gear research as well as their technology with the other two factions. And finally, the angels who would share the healing facilities as well as their abilities towards the other two factions. They even made a conclusion to only let those that are interested in joining the factions be considered, even preventing the hunt for sacred gear wielders who may be a possible threat to them, and only those that are actually a threat will be dealt with. Sirzechs, with that peace will be held. Before Sirzechs could continue, all of a sudden time stopped. This time the peerages as well as their guards were time stopped. The wielder of the forbidden Balor View had been kidnapped. The leaders, Zenovia, Irina, Vali, and Asia were the only ones that were unaffected by this ability. Azazel, looks like the vampire boy has been kidnapped. Sirzechs, Gasper, Asia, will you help us in retrieving him? Then only we can attack them. Vali, this is so boring, I'm just sitting there. Azazel, then why don't you go and cause some mayhem? The White Dragon Emperor would surely cause some trouble in their ranks. Vali, gladly. With that, Vali leaves and causes some complications in their attacks. Eventually, the threat of the attack was reduced enough so to give enough time for Asia to infiltrate the Orc HQ to retrieve its wielder to safety. The scene is pretty much the same from Season 3, but the only difference is that Asia is the one that rescues Gasper from the Nilfheim magicians. The fight of Azazel with Kateria Leviathan has the same outcome, with Azazel using his downfall dragon balance breaker resulting in the death of the old Satan faction general. Also, by the time Gasper was rescued from the magicians, the time had reverted back to normal. Azazel relaxes after his fight with Kateria. He is suddenly attacked by Vali, who easily knocked him to the ground. Azazel, I must be getting old to actually get hit, so Vali, what gives? Vali, sorry Azazel, this side looked kind of interesting, so I decided to join them. Asia, so this is your big surprise? Vali, yeah, I decided to join them instead of the Alliance. Asia, bad move Vali, bad move. With that, Asia engages Vali. In their inevitable fight, Vali may have the upper hand due to his training, but Asia is a being that was far stronger than he had ever faced. Her dragon physiology had allowed her to not only keep up with Vali, but also had allowed her to damage Vali with her own attacks. Azazel, I have been hearing about this new organization that was against the peace in the Alliance from one of my officials, Shemazai. They are known as the Chaos Brigade, isn't it? Vali, you got that right, Azazel. But unlike them, I am not interested in world domination, nor am I interested in its destruction. I only want to fight strong beings, but allow me to introduce myself. My name is Vali Lucifer, son of the devil Lucifer and a human mother. With that, Vali showed his 8 wings. All of the ones present in the Alliance were shocked, especially Sirzechs, who didn't know that the descendant of Lucifer had existed. He also knew that this would cause a huge uproar in the devil community. He decided to keep this a secret. Vali, also the leader of Chaos Brigade, is none other than Ophis, the Ouroboros dragon. Asia, you've got to be kidding me. Riaz, it can't be the Ouroboros dragon. Vali, yes. Asia, so what now? Are we gonna continue fighting, or are you gonna boast your heritage? It seems like a very good heritage to project on. Vali, you have no idea about what I have been through. Asia, yeah, let's just fight already. With that, Vali and Asia fight again. Punches, kicks, and magical powers were thrown on each other. Asia never had fun fighting against an opponent who was almost equal to her power. Vali was having a blast of his life. Even the dragons were enjoying their fights. They have been bored with a single outcome, but now they are enjoying like it is their time of their lives. That's when Vali decided to push Asia. Big mistake. Vali, so I heard that you were a weak nun before becoming the Red Dragon Emperor. You even failed to save your friend who was killed by a pathetically weak fallen angel. Asia, Vali, don't. Vali, oh, maybe I can kill those 2 friends, then you can be a true avenger. Asia, damn it, Vli. With that, the angered dragon lunges at Vali. She overwhelmed him, dealing severe punches and kicks to Vali, breaking his balance breaker as well as a few bones. Albion was worried about his host getting severely damaged. Vali coughs blood. I never thought you would be this strong. Well, then I must use it then, the Juggernaut drive. Asia, no Vali, don't. I who am about to awaken am the heavenly dragon who has taken the principles of supremacy from God. I envy the infinite and I pursue the dream. I shall become the white dragon of supremacy, and I shall take you to the limits of white paradise. Juggernaut drive. This is how his Juggernaut drive looks. He is still in control, but only for a short amount of time. Vali, so how does this power feel, rival? Asia, how? Draig, my guess is that he is using his own demonic magic instead of his life force as a substitute. Smart move, I must say. Azazel, he is but a joke of an existence to be this powerful. Being the son of Lucifer, he would be the strongest white dragon emperor in all of existence. Vali, allow me to show you a small dose of my power. Asia, knowing his intentions, no Vali, don't. With that, he throws a concentrated blast of power towards the Gremory peerage. Before they could respond or react, they were all destroyed within the blast. Everyone was shocked at this attack, at how an entire peerage was wiped out in a single blast. Sirzechs, Grayfia, and Sona only watched in terror as their sister friend was wiped out in a single blast. Sirzechs cried in agony as he lost his only sister in a blast that was not easy to avoid. The juggernaut drive started to take control of Vali, turning him into a mindless beast. The juggernaut drive is considered to be one of the most dangerous transformation. It can easily dull the consciousness of a person, making them go on a rampage, killing anyone that comes across. Azazel and Asia, enraged, "Damn it, Vali." But only a roar was given as a response. They knew that Vali was long gone, only the beast remained. Asia had decided to put his rival down once and for all. Asia, all right then, let's fight. As with the alliance, we could see Sirzechs and Grayfia weeping over the death of Rias as well as their peerages. Both were pretty devastated at their demises. They were barely able to keep track on what was going on. They knew that it was a beast that killed their sister. Meanwhile, Sona and Riser were also saddened by the loss of their best friend fiancé. They were also unable to keep holding their tears, and they were as well crying. Meanwhile, Asia was constantly destroying Vali, using her draconic flame abilities as well as her super strength to endlessly pummel the beast into oblivion. Draig was constantly boosting the abilities of Asia in order to deal devastating damage to Vali, who over time was constantly dealing with punches and kicks from all directions. Being a mindless beast had its flaws, he was unable to keep up with the attacks and eventually started to break. We could see Vali in his barely conscious state just hovering above Asia. He eventually woke up and saw what had happened. "Asia, you are too dangerous to be left alive." With that, Asia rips apart the divine, dividing from Vali's body, making him scream in pain and terror. Blood poured out where the sacred gear was. Asia then tried to incorporate the sacred gear into her body. "Draig, partner, you cannot put that sacred gear into your body. We are opposite existences. We cannot be in one body." "Asia, I must try." With that, Asia manages to incorporate the gear into her body. This caused her excruciating pain, making the pain from the ritual seem like the walk in a park. She was screaming while the gear was being inserted into her body. Draig could only watch in pity as his host tried to do something which was impossible. He knew that Asia was strong-willed, but will she be able to keep up with the pain? He only prayed for his host to not die in the process. "Asia, I did it. I managed to incorporate the gear into my body." Draig and Azazel, impossible. Asia now had wings similar to that of the divine dividing. Now she was both the red dragon and the white dragon emperor at the same time. She was basically two dragons in one body. She was now powerful than a lot of supernatural beings. Draig, roaring in laughter, "Ha ha ha ha, you seem to manage to do the impossible, partner. First you survived from the ritual, now you have a sacred gear that is the complete opposite of mine. I must say Albion will receive the biggest shock of his life. You are the strongest partner I have ever had." "Vali, how can this be? How did you manage to place two sacred gears into your body?" "Asia, I have a lot of pain tolerance and determination. I can do anything." Asia then proceeds to brutally torture Vali for his actions against the Alliance as well as the Gremory peerage. She then tries to finish Vali with a fire blast. But before she could do, a man with a staff appears and interrupts their fight. "Sorry, but Red Dragon, but I cannot let you kill him." "Asia, you better have a good reason for interrupting our fight, Yaokai." "Sorry, but I have orders to take him with me. By the way, my name is Biku. I am this generation's descendant of Sun Wukong." Azazel, sarcastically, "The Monkey King and this generation's White Dragon Emperor, you seem to be truly compatible." Biku, KKKE, he got that correct, points to Vali. "You seem to be in pretty bad shape." "Vali, just shut up and get us out of here." With that, both Vali and Biku teleport out of there. Asia could only watch in surprise. The hybrid dragon empress knew that the alliance meeting went well. But at what cost? Rias and her team is dead. Sirzechs is devastated. Azazel, knowing that his surrogate son might die and is also a part of a terrorist group, is also pretty sad. Everyone else was at shock. Everyone decides to call it a day and leave for their homes. Sirzechs decided to go back to the Gremory mansion to inform his parents about his sister's demise. Then he can grieve over Rias when he is alone in his private room. Grayfia herself was devastated at her demise but was managing to barely keep control of her emotions. Asia then meets up with Zenovia and Irina, who had refused Michael's offer to rejoin the church. Asia, wow, I can't believe he did such a thing. Irina, even though I am not that sad at Ria's death, I feel bad for her brother. He did not deserve this. Zenovia agrees to Irina's statement. She also was not that close with the redhead, but knew that she did not deserve such a terrible fate. Asia, let's call it a day and head back home. We need to compose ourselves for what comes next. We now know that a whole terrorist group is out there waiting to unleash some damage onto the factions. X and I, yeah, we should probably rest. With that, the trio head home. Rainer's abduction of Asia Argento 5 finale. Continuing from our story last time, we see our heroine Asia Argento dealing with the aftermath of what had happened during the faction meeting. It was a disaster to say the least. Even though the peace treaty was signed, Ria's Gremory and her peerage were wiped out, killed by the surrogate son of Azazel, Vali Lucifer. Even thought the devils were calmed down due to them being killed by a Gregory member turned terrorist. That doesn't make the situation much better. At the Gremory mansion, it was an event, funeral of the Ria's Gremory, the now former matriarch of the Gremory family. It was a grim sight to behold. There was the entire Gremory family present, along with the Citri family and peerage, Fenix family and their peerages along with Michael, Gabriel, Asia, Zenovia and Irina. The women of the Gremory family were silently weeping on the death of their daughter sister-in-law. Both Baraquil and Sirzechs who were present were silent on the inside, grieving for their daughter-sister. With the heavy heart, Zeracidus Gremory, the current patriarch of the Gremory household, gave a speech. Zeracidus, thank you all for coming to the funeral. As you can see, we have lost 4 innocent souls, killed by the terrorist known as Vali Lucifer. She did not deserve this. She was a kind-hearted woman who only wanted good for her peerage and her territory. She tried to make amends for her actions that resulted in the death of someone in her peerage. She was a kind-hearted and selfless woman who only wanted others to be happy and be safe. It was then several other people from the Gremory, Citri, as well as Riser Fenix himself who gave nothing but positive and kind words for the deceased. Everyone was shocked at how Riser had changed during his time spent with Ria's Gremory. Not only did he decide to change himself to become worthy of her love, but also started treating his servants as well as low-class devils with care and respect. His parents were proud of the man he had become. A few moments later, we can see Sirzechs in a balcony looking at the sky, his eyes focused on the stars, tears coming from his eyes. He had lost his sister, someone he had cherished a lot in his life. Being a leader allowed him to control his emotions to a certain extent, but he couldn't keep it in himself for much longer. Tears were constantly falling from his eyes. An replace him with Sirzechs. Sirzechs, it is a terrible day to reign, huh? Azazel then calls him to talk. Sirzechs immediately wipes out his tears and decides to have his conversation with him. His relation with the fallen angel leader had deteriorated a bit due to Ria's demise. He knew that it wasn't his fault, but he decided to keep his distance away so as to not injure him. Sirzechs, masking his anger, what do you want, Azazel? If it is about the alliance, it is still going to happen irrespective of this situation. Azazel, no, I am not here for that. Sirzechs, then what? Azazel was taken aback by the outburst but didn't respond as he knew that he didn't raise Vali well. He failed him as a father, thus causing Ria's death. Azazel, I am here to tell you that any punishment you give him I would accept. Sirzechs, I want that devil dead. Azazel, that is if he is still alive. Sirzechs, what do you mean? Azazel then explains him what happens with the sacred gear being removed and it being integrated into Asia's body. He also explains Vali's near-death condition after the removal of the gear. Sirzechs, dreadful, I didn't know she was capable of doing that and surviving. I know what happens when a sacred gear is removed. The strain is so much that they end up dying. Now Asia is become more stronger than what she was before. Azazel, yeah, that's what worries me the most. She now has both Draig and Albion by her side. She is not someone that you want to be enemies with. Sirzechs, you are right. She is still allied with us even after what had happened due to her fault. We must not bother her unless it is necessary, especially if we want the alliance to grow into all mythological factions. Both Azazel and Sirzechs decided to do what they need to do next, is to bring the Norse faction into the alliance, thus strengthening the faction's powers. They knew that they have to become united against the threat known as the Chaos Brigade. Otherwise, they would all have the same fate as Ria's Gremory. Meanwhile, in a different dimension, nothing I am doing is working. Even my spells are ineffective and useless. It is not healing him at all. There were 4 people who were attended a wounded boy with silver hair. This is Vali Lucifer, Gregory member turned terrorist and the murderer of Ria's Gremory. He was badly injured and had lost a lot of blood due to his fight with the Red Dragon Emperor. Furthermore, losing a sacred gear usually means death of that person. They could see Vali barely even able to be conscious due to the immense blood loss. Biku, there has to be something you could do, Kuroka Lefei. Kuroka, Senjutsu is useless against him. Neither am I able to restore his life force, nor am I able to heal his wounds. Lefei, even my healing spells are ineffective. Whoever the Red Dragon Emperor was, must have been strong enough to not only beat him in his juggernaut drive, but to also take away his sacred gear and put it into his body. Kuroka, worried, I do not care about them, I just want to see him alive. Any progress, guys? Lefei, nothing, big brother Arthur, nothing is working so far. Vali, barely awake, my death is inevitable, guys, there is nothing you could do, I have taken a lot of damage plus lost my sacred gear due to her assaults, I do not think I can make it. Plus the juggernaut shortened my lifespan by a huge margin as a result. Even if I survive this, I cannot even life alive for 10 years. Let it go, guys. Arthur, do not say that, Vali, do not say it, damn it. Kuroka, he is right, leader, you cannot die, not like this. Lefei, there is nothing, guys, nothing we can do, sorry. Arthur, don't be Lefei, you are trying your best. Vali, stay away from the Red Dragon Emperor, she is even stronger than I imagine. I cannot let you guys die because of my stupid actions. Kuroka, no, don't, we will avenge you, she will suffer for her actions. Vali, do not be stupid, Kuroka, I do not have much time left, her name is. With that, Vali dies due to his injuries coupled with his life force taken away due to having his sacred gear extracted as well as the juggernaut drive. Arthur and Biku silently watch as they lost their friend, silently crying due to his demise. Lefei could be seen weeping. Kuroka was wailing due to the demise of her possible mating partner as well as her only friend. Kuroka, in a sad yet furious tone, we will avenge you, Vali, no matter what it takes. With Asia back at her house. Asia can be sleeping in her room, cause of the stressful meeting along with the funeral that took place afterwards. While she may not be affected by Ria's and her peerage's demise, she was still sad about their demise to a certain extent. This, coupled by the fact that she fought a Lucifer who just so happened to be the White Dragon Emperor, knocked the nun out easily to sleep. She could be seen dreaming about a certain dragon. Hello. Asia, you are not Draig, who are you? I cannot believe me, you forgot about me so soon, nor did you recognize my voice. Asia, Albion. Albion, yes, it is me, Albion, the vanishing dragon, your dragon's rival, well, at least former rival, since we are now inhibiting one host now. Asia could only watch in awe as a majestic white dragon could be seen in an icy plain. She knew that this dragon meant business considering she managed to be the host of two dragons who were pretty much rivals. She knew that she had to convince him to join her side. Asia, are you mad that you inhabit the same body as Draig or by the possible death of Vali? Albion, honestly I am surprised that you're even alive after incorporating me into your body without dying. As for the other part, I am sad at Vali's demise, but at the same time I warned him to not push himself that far or even use the juggernaut drive, knowing that it could easily turn him into a mindless monster. But he was overconfident that he could handle the drive's effects with his own magic. He pretty much did the same mistake as a lot of my previous hosts. It looks like some things do not change, huh, Albion? Asia and Albion, that voice Draig. Draig, yeah, that's me, Draig. Well, since we are now in the same body, we might as well get along with each other and put our rivalry aside. Albion, I guess I have no choice. Asia, well, I am happy that you two are getting along, so what is the plan right now, guys? Draig, for starters, you need to learn how to mask your aura, since a lot of supernatural beings would want to either kill or recruit you into your ranks. Albion, then I can teach you my abilities and turn you into a fire and ice hybrid dragon. This will allow you to use my abilities as well. Asia, yeah, I guess we can do that, and thanks Albion for helping me out. Albion, not a problem, partner. Draig, hey, she's my partner. Albion, our partners. AN communism theme intensifies. Draig, geez, okay, I will play along. Asia could only sigh at both the dragons' love-hate relationship. She knew that this is gonna be a long day with these two lizards arguing every now and then. She should have known that this was gonna happen. She was gonna rest till tomorrow morning till she gets ready for another ritual being as painful as the previous one. Asia decided that now would be the time to actually do the ritual, since the factions would be ready dealing with the new Chaos Brigade, so nobody would dare to bother with the ritual. She knew that she must be much stronger if she had to deal with any other possible future threats. Asia, here we are. Draig, same place where we did our ritual. Albion seems secretive enough, so shall we begin? Asia, yeah. Unlike the previous one, this wasn't as painful as the one which Draig had done, due to Asia's draconic strength as well as her high pain tolerance. The ritual even had completed faster than that of Draig's one, since only it was the addition of a few elements to her body. Aside from that, 80% of the ritual had already been completed, that being her conversion from a human to a dragon. Albion then decided to teach her on how to activate her balance breaker, as well as a few of his ice magic spells along with his signature ability Reduce, the poison that could easily kill a lot of supernatural beings with its reduction of organic matter. It had the same limitations as Draig's signature move. She even learned how to cool the air enough to freeze an area, creating an icy field capable of destroying entire armies. Albion, you managed to learn all of my abilities in a week's time without that much effort. You really are something. Draig, Albion, I told you that our partner is something else entirely. Albion, yeah, I must agree, Draig, she is not to be messed with. Asia, thanks guys, I wouldn't have been this strong without you guys. Both no problem, partner. With that, Asia then decides to head home. Zenovia and Irina were worried sick about their friend missing. When she came back, they were overjoyed, but it sensed something different about the blonde. They realized that Asia had become much stronger than she used to be before. They knew that now she at least had a fighting chance with anyone who tried to hurt or attack her or them. They congratulated her on not only becoming strong, but also for doing something thought impossible by the very law of nature. Zenovia, would you mind showing me what you learned, Asia? Irina, cheerfully, please Asia, even I want to see. Asia, alright, simmer down guys, I will show you the abilities. With that, Asia showed her proficiency in ice magic, as well as her utility and combination abilities. They knew that Asia had become efficient in using her ice magic. Asia also showed them Albion's signature ability Reduce, capable of killing gods with its eroding nature. They were shocked to see its capabilities and were awed by her newfound strength. Then a portal appears in front of them while showing her abilities. It was Sirzechs along with his wife Queen Grayfia showing up. They prepare themselves for a possible fight, but seeing their condition, they decide to let it go. They knew that he has still not been over his sister's demise. Sirzechs, hello Asia, Zenovia and Irina. Asia, worried, what do you want, Sirzechs? Sirzechs, I wanted to invite you to the Young Devils Gathering, which will be taking place in a week from now. Asia, and what if I refuse? Grayfia, begging, please don't miss Argento, we need you to be there for the alliance meeting with the Norse faction. Please do not deny my request. Asia, with a pitiful look, alright, we will be there. Sirzechs, thank you, Asia. With that, both Sirzechs and Grayfia leave to their homes to grieve as well as prepare for the alliance with the Norse faction. Asia, so guys, are you two coming for the meeting? X and I, yes we are, we do not have anything else to do. With that, the trio rest and relax until the meeting starts. Little do they know that someone wants vengeance from her and will do anything to get it. At an unknown location. So the Red Dragon Emperor would be arriving at the meeting. Yes, Kuroka, that's what our spies are telling us. Kuroka, good, be prepared, Red Dragon Emperor, I am coming for your life. Along with Kuroka, a mysterious individual was spying on them. They knew that if the alliance meeting would take place, his goal would never be completed. He realized that he must stop the peace meeting at all costs if he wants his mission to be completed. You are doing a big mistake, All-Father Odin. I will not let this meeting happen. Ragnarok will take place. With that, the mysterious individual leaves from the area. Asia and company head towards the underworld to get to the meeting. She is wearing a party dress along with Zenovia and Irina, who are wearing similar dresses. They realized that they must be dressed properly for this event. Asia, are you guys ready? Zenovia, yes we are. With that, the trio enter inside the hall. There they could see a lot of devils fighting with each other. Do you have a death wish, Zephyr? Zephyr, you stink of virginity, bitch. Here, let me help you with that. Do not even think about it, asshole. Calm yourselves down, heir of Agar's, problem child of Glacialabolas, show some decency, or Zephyr, problem child, how you will pay for that, Sayorg. Zephyr rushes at Sagorg, but the Bale heir easily sidesteps and gives him a gut punch, sending him flying and knocking several bones as well as him out. Sayorg, geez, at least act like a heir, don't embarrass yourself. Well, what do we have here? The Red Dragon Emperor herself. Asia, do I know you? Ah yes, you may call me Sequeria, heir of the Agar's family. I am very much interested in your armor. Sequeria is a Gundam fan, so she loves mechs and mechanical suits. Asia, thank you, I appreciate that. Sequeria, and I also heard that you are the first red and white hybrid dragon emperor. I am dying to see your combination balance breaker. Sayorg, the Red Dragon Emperor is here. A pleasure to meet you. I am Sayorg, heir of the Bale family. Also, I would like to test you in a fight against me. Would you mind? Asia, sure, I would gladly fight you. Asia then sensed something familiar, a familiar aura, but she realized that this is not possible since Kaneko is dead. She immediately heads out to the direction where the aura was coming from, only to find a lady wearing a kimono, having cat ears and 2 cat tails. Asia knew that this creature is a Nekomata. Draig had informed her about that. Why, hello there. Asia, who are you and what do you want? My name is Kuroka. I am part of the Vali team. You killed my leader, now prepare to die. Asia, do you know why I killed him? Kuroka, I don't want to know and I don't care. You will die here. Asia Argento, it is not a pleasure to knowing you. Asia, Rippenteer the Nekomata. With that, Asia engages her in a fight. Compared to Vali, she was far more easier, but at the same time the dragons had warned her that she had enhanced her abilities using Tauki as well as using blades made of Samel's poison to kill Asia. Asia, let me tell you what your leader did. He is the reason the entire Gremory peerage is dead. By any chance are you related to Kaneko? Kuroka, why did you say that name? Asia, because Vali is the reason she is dead. He killed him during one of his rampages. If I hadn't stopped him, everyone I know would have been dead. Kuroka, no, the real reason is that she aligned herself with the Alliance and they are gonna pay for their actions. Asia, whelp, so be it. With that, Asia engages herself against Kuroka. Kuroka constantly tried to use Samel's poison to stab Asia, but the blonde was easily evaded her attacks. She then proceeded to use Ice Field, slowing down her attacks, making her exhausted and freeze due to her cold. Kuroka tried to attack Asia one final time using the Samel's blade, but she easily knocked it out of her hand. Being helpless, Asia then proceeded to use Welsh Dragon Flare, burning her immensely and dealing massive damage to her. Then she proceeded to throw the burnt Nekashu in the air, and proceeded to constantly headbutt her in the sky, breaking her face and immensely damage her, rendering her harmless. Kuroka, now I know how you were able to kill Vali. You have become too powerful for your own good. Now just kill me already. I have no reason to live for. Asia, well, I will give you a mercy kill. With that, Asia uses Welsh Dragon Flare, easily burning the Nekashu alive. Kuroka accepted her death, knowing she would be reunited with her sister in the afterlife. After which, Asia decides to head towards the hall where the alliance treaty was being signed. Odin had not arrived yet, so Asia decided to talk with the other guests about the underworld politics as well as inform Zenovia and Irina about where she went. Zenovia, so you killed Kuroka, huh? Asia, yeah, I didn't want to, but I knew that she had to be put out of her misery, so I did what I had to do. Irina, I will pray that she gets peace in the afterlife. Asia, yeah, please do so. Asia then notices the All-Father Odin had arrived along with his assistant, a Valkyrie. He had already made a scene which embarrassed the Valkyrie. Odin-sama, please behave yourself, we are in an important conference. Odin, that's why you don't have a boyfriend, because of your strict nature. With that, the Valkyrie starts crying, throwing a hissy fit that she will be getting a boyfriend soon. Odin could only sigh at her actions. He introduced her a Roswis, a young Valkyrie. He also told her that she is gentle but can be strict, therefore she is unable to get a boyfriend. Odin then decided to sign in the treaty. That's when a Norse magic circle opened up. Odin, you've got to be kidding me. I cannot let this treaty take place, father. Odin Loki. Loki, sorry, but an alliance with lower-class beings is a disgrace to the name of Asgard. I will never achieve Ragnarok if such a thing takes place. Roswis, if you have a problem Loki-sama, then please voice your opinions down the right channels, not like this. Loki, do not interfere, you low-class Valkyrie. Roswis gritted her teeth at the statement. Loki then summoned Fenrir to attack the area, but before Loki could do any damage, Ajuka, one of the 4 devil kings, sealed him away using a magic seal. Sirzechs, thank you Ajuka, how long will he be sealed? Ajuka, 12 hours, considering his power. Odin, this is my fault, I will take full responsibility for his actions. Sirzechs, it is not your fault, All-Father. Odin, I will ask Thor to send Mjolnir, the red dragon girl can wield it to defeat him. Sirzechs, Asia, will you help us defeat Loki? Asia, yes Lucifer-sama, I will help you defeat him and anyone that is in the way of this peace. 9 hours later. The leaders were preparing for their assault against the Norse god, when Asia and the others showed up in order to deal with the rogue god. It was decided that Asia along with Zenobia and Irina will be sent to deal with him. To enhance further protection, Sona Sitri and her peerage as well as the remnants of Vali team also agreed to help them in order to buy time for Asia so that she can get Mjolnir in order to seal the rogue god. Roswis also volunteered to go with them. At the battlefield. Asia, alright, is everyone ready? Everyone, yes we are. The seal breaks, revealing a very pissed off Loki. He cursed Beelzebub for using a seal to inhibit his powers. The rogue god was even more determined to unleash Ragnarok upon the world as a sign of vengeance. Roswis, Loki-sama, please go back. Odin-sama would forgive you if you go back to the Norse. Please, you are making a mistake. Loki, I am preventing him from making a mistake. Roswis, well then we have no choice but to fight. Asia, wow Roswis, the negotiations were short. With that the battle begins. Loki further summons the Midgard serpent along with his grandchildren Hati and Skull. They begin an all-out assault against the teams. Sona Sitri and her peerage deal with the Midgard serpent, Vali team deal with the runts, Roswis deals with Fenrir, leaving Asia to deal with Loki. To say Loki was able to hold his own against Asia would be an understatement. He was easily destroying her, even after she used a fusion of Welsh and Vanishing Dragon Balance Breaker known as Vanishing Crimson Balance Breaker. He was able to destroy her armor multiple times as well as counter her spells to a certain degree. She knew that in order to beat the rogue god she would have to use the dragon's signature move Blazing Inferno of Scorching Flames. This move dealt a massive amount of damage to the god, angering him even further. Loki, how dare you dragon damage me like this, how dare you? Asia, sorry but I won't let you hurt the people I care about. Loki. Loki, I will make sure you won't interfere. With that Loki unleashes a massive gravity spell grounding Asia as well as knocking her out of the fight. She could only watch helplessly as the Sitri peerage gets killed one by the Midgard serpent. Even though the Vali team was able to defeat and seal Fenrir, they were unable to keep up with the other 2 wolves as they were mercilessly slaughtered by them. Lefay was the first to fall, followed by a grieving Arthur and finally Biku. The only ones that were left were Zenobia and Irina who were dealing with Hati. They were able to kill the wolf for good, but the other one Skull had attacked Asia, who was barely able to fight against him. She knew that she would die from their attacks. But that's when she saw a light. She saw both of her friends sacrificing themselves in order to save her from Skull's attacks. Asia now has lost her only family left. She saw Zenobia was the first one to perish due to passing out from blood loss. She saw Irina was barely alive. Skull had brutally killed her only friends left in this world. Meanwhile, Loki had already killed Roswis. She realized that they had failed. Ragnarok would be brought upon this world and there is nothing that they could do. Asia knew wow. Irina, it's okay Asia, IYLL at least be reunited cough out blood YTHEs. Asia, crying no Irina, you can't leave me like this, I won't let you die. Asia tried using her twilight healing to heal her wounds but was shocked that nothing had happened. She realized that those fangs were cursed, preventing from using her sacred gear to heal the swordsmen. Loki, my grandson's fangs are made up of a special type of poison. They can easily prevent healings, resulting in the death of several gods. Loki laughed maniacally while saying this. He wanted to bring her into despair. The first sign of Ragnarok would be the trigger of the Juggernaut drive. He kept taunting her on how weak she is and on how worthless she had always been. Memories of her helplessness were shown. She watched Issei die, then Ria's and her peerage, and now finally the remnant of her friends had perished. Draig's no Asia, I don't know what to do. Albion, partner, she doesn't deserve this. All past hosts. Activate it. Make them suffer for killing your friends. Make the god and his minions suffer for their actions. Activate the Juggernaut drive. Draig's, this might be the only way the mad god can be taken down. Albion, I hate to say it. Asia, with tears in her eyes, enough. Loki, what are you gonna Asia gonna cry? Asia, Loki, I, who am about to awaken, am the heavenly dragon who has stolen the principles of domination from God. I laugh at the infinite, and I pursue the dream. I shall become the ultimate dragon of vengeance, and I shall drown you to the depths of the crimson and silver purgatory. Juggernaut Drive. With that, the final battle begins. Asia proceeds to transform into a fusion of the Juggernaut drives of both the Red Dragon Emperor and the White Dragon Emperor. With that, the dragon simultaneously boosted its power while dividing the runt as well as the serpent, both feeling weak. Then Asia proceeded to unleash the signature move Longinus Smasher on them, killing them both instantly. Longinus Smash Hair. AN replace Shalba with Skull and the Midgard Serpent. Loki was now shocked at their deaths, at how easily both of them were killed. He knew that he was next, so he then proceeded to unleash the Ragnarok. This action of his destroyed the whole arena, but the dragon was still standing. He then lunged at the fear-driven god. She first ripped both of his arms off. Loki screamed in agony as blood was pouring out where his arms were. She then used her tendril-like wings to insert into his body, and it wrapped around his organs, thus causing massive internal bleeding. This resulted in adrenaline being pumped into his body, preventing him from passing out. The Asgardian regeneration only doubling the pain on him as he was constantly regenerating his organs, and with Asia constantly destroying his as a result, he was unable to scream as his voice box was also ruptured. It was a grim sight to behold. Asia then proceeded to land him on a stand-like situation, and proceeded to constantly burn and freeze him with her magical abilities. His body started to deteriorate due to constantly being frozen and barbecued. Loki barely managed to speak. Loki, please have mercy. Draig, you have made a big mistake, Norse god, and now you shall pay. Albion agreed with Draig. He knew that Loki deserved what was coming. He eventually died a painful and agonizing death as his remains were completely charred with ice particles roaming around it. Asia dispelled her Juggernaut drive. She then proceeded to cry endlessly as she had now lost everything. Asia, crying with tears falling from her eyes, why am I doomed to repeat this fate? My friends always dies protecting me, first Issei and then Zenobia and Irina. Both dragons were quiet. They knew about Asia's suffering. They knew that she has no one to live for. They pitied her as they were unable to do anything. But they realized something. The faction leaders never showed up to help them. It was as if they never cared. Asia, I know the faction leaders didn't do anything. They just sit back while we clean up their messes, but no longer from now on they will fight their own battles. I will make them do so. I will rule the alliance and make sure they clean their messes up. Asia was livid when she realized that the faction leaders never showed up. Mjolnir never had appeared. Her friends are now dead. She has now nothing left to lose. Asia, are you two with me? Both dragons nodded with agreement. They knew that the factions had screwed up big time. They knew that change needed to be brought in. Asia then decided to attack the Alliance in order to conquer it so that change can be brought in those supernatural beings, so that they can do what needs to be done before it is too late. So that's the end of this storyline. This resulted in Asia eventually ruling over the Alliance with an iron fist. The story that began with a desire to protect an innocent took a dark turn due to negligence and laziness of the factions, resulting in them getting conquered. This further results in a dark utopia where the alliance that was supposed to be peaceful became a militant force. Please let me know in the comments on how to improve. Peace. Next storyline preview. Devil Civil War. The arc that truly started everything. The one that changed the society of the underworld forever. Back when there was a desire for peace, there was a desire for war, for change. In the canon universe, Sirzechs, Gremory, and his friends managed to defeat the original Satans who desired war over anything else. They believed in royalty over talent, as well as they ruined their relations with the 72 pillars due to the narcissistic nature. The rebels, led by Sirzechs, Serafal, Ajuka, Grayfia, and Falbium, managed to defeat the original Satans, thus becoming the new Satans, therefore ushering a generations of peace and happiness. But what if I told you in another universe, a dark one, where things happen with a darker beginning? Not only were the civilians killed during an onslaught, but Grayfia's relation with Sirzechs was revealed much earlier, which results in her execution where she was brutally tortured and finally killed. This drives the once kind-hearted devil who wanted the better for his people into darkness and vengeance. What will happen to the underworld and its leaders when they deal with this dark and vengeful alternate of Sirzechs' Gremory? Explanation: Dark universes. Okay, so this is more or less about the explanation of the dark universes in general, as opposed to one universe where there is one or multiple alternates of evil characters present. Those that are familiar with this map know that this is the map of the DC multiverse. The High School Dxd multiverse looks similar to that of the DC multiverse map, but it is not limited to 52 universes. There are more than 52 universes. So as we are familiar with the events happening in the light novels, manga, and the anime, except Season 3 happen in the realm of Draconic Deus Earth. Let's just say all these events happen in the Prime Earth or Earth Zero. As for Season 3, a lot of events do not take place in the light novel, so we can say that it happens in a separate reality. It is confirmed in the non-canon book of High School Dxd that it takes place in an alternate future where the children of Issei Hyoudou and the girls go back in time to fix reality as future Loki tries to alter it. Another story for another time, but it is safe to say that these children hail from another futuristic reality, a different Earth per se. Like the information given above states that there must be alternate Earth, where our heroes have a different past resulting in differences in their attitudes as well as altering their personalities to an extent. We can assume that in another Earth where things are not the same as they happen in canon, Issei Hyoudou doesn't become a pervert but maintains his kindness, but at the same time, there may be another reality where he is evil or part of the Cause Brigade. You may never realize. Similarly, Ria's Gremory may be a cruel and vindictive master to her servants and may treat them as slaves in another Earth. These universes where such alternates of our favorite characters exist may be possible. There may be realities where characters like them exist. The characters which I referred from exist in the positive multiverse, where hope always is present and it eventually prevails and it usually results in a happy ending. But there also exists a negative or dark multiverse, where things that can go wrong will go wrong, where things are pretty bleak for our main characters. This results in extremely twisted versions of our main characters roaming around trying to make things good as seen with the first two stories. But fate pushes both Issei and Asia to such extents that they ended up becoming very twisted and deranged versions of our canon characters we are familiar with Issei becoming a twisted avenger and Asia becoming a dictator. As you could see, this is how a dark universe character looks like. Unfortunately, there is no dark alternate of any High School Dxd character, so I had to choose characters from DC Dark Knight's Metal, so they look pretty twisted compared to their main DC counterparts. The stories and characters from the High School Dxd are inspired by these characters hailing from the dark multiverse. You could even say that the dark negative is like some sort of mirror, showing us a reflection of the characters that could have been if circumstances pushed them to such extremes. It is a sort of dark reflection of what things could have been if the situation pushed them to such extremes, but there is also a light reflection where things and situations may have been much lighter and better where the characters have not gone such terrible paths. The dark universes also reveal a lot of characters' deepest fears on what they could have become, similar to that of the dark multiverse. He's always had the fear of being in a false state of security where the girls are just teasing him or where he's just being played for. He still fears being rejected and ultimately having his relationship with the girls completely ruined. Eventually, he gets over such fears, thanks to the very same people that he once feared of turning his back on. Similarly, Asia always feared of losing Issei, unable to do anything without him. He literally and figuratively became her mental support system. This is true when he is presumed dead later on and Asia contemplates suicide. She, like Issei, eventually gets over her fear when Issei comes back and stronger than ever. So these characters are not immune to fear, but it is one of their deepest fears that bring these dark multiverse characters to life. Devil Civil War 1. To quote from Superman, "No one stays truly good in this world." In this dark alternate take on the prologue arc of High School Dxd, our main protagonist Sirzechs Lucifer, while searching his choir amidst an attack by the devil government on the resistance led by the Agares and Bale faction, we can see him rushing in what looks like a choir area, now completely burned by the building. He was mortified at what he saw, dead bodies lying everywhere. He knew that this was due to the actions of the government. He knew that there is nothing he could do for those kids. He held one of the kids' hands, furious at their demise. I will be referring Sirzechs and the other devil kings by their original names. They will be known as Sirzechs Gremory, Serafal Citri, Ajuka Asteroth, and Falbium Glacialabolas, since they have not been devil kings yet. Sirzechs, no, this can't be. They only wanted to sing a song of peace, not war. That's when a silver-haired lady shows up. This was Grayfia Lucifage, the right-hand lady to the house of Lucifer. Grayfia stammering ID, oh no t no w wati to say. Sir says they don't deserve this, they were nothing but kids, they only wanted to sing not fight, they only wanted to show their talent to the underworld. Grayfia only could view the man who once used to smile at others, who was once a soft-spoken man at heart, now viewing the scene in anger, despair, and ferocity. She knew that he is not gonna let this go down unnoticed. Sirzechs yelling, "Thui will pay for what they did." Grayfia knew that she could do nothing at this point. She saw how pointless it would be to fight Sirzechs at this state, not to mention she needs answers as to why they did such an heinous action. She left to try to restrain the resistance troops before they could cause more damage. After a while, his friends Serafal, Ajuka, and Falbium show up. They could see the carnage that took place. They were speechless. They immediately consoled their friend for their loss. They knew that the government will have to answer for their crimes against these innocent devils. They knew that blood will be shed. They decided to fight with Sirzechs against these truly by-heart devils. Sirzechs, we should take up Zekram's offer to fight against the government. Ajuka, but Sirzechs, won't that make us a target against the devil government? Sirzechs, yeah, but we cannot let a genocide like this go unnoticed. Look around, guys, is this what they wanted to do? They knew that such a situation may come into fruition. Those people deserved not this but to live happy lives. They do not care for their actions. They do not care about consequences. There will be change in the government no matter what they do. We will make a better system for the devils. Falbium yawning, yeah, let's head towards their base. Serafal, yeah, let's go. With that, the four devils agree to help Zekram and the Duke of Agars, I do not know his name. They agree to help them in order to prevent the government from doing such unjust acts and to make a better devil society for all devils. They knew that something was gonna happen, but things are going to get a lot worse for the four, especially to Sirzechs Gremory. Sirzechs and the others did not initially want to join the resistance as they didn't know what their true intentions were, but knew that the government needed to change. The actions of the Satan government towards the civilians was the catalyst for the four to fight against the government. Sirzechs could be seen walking down the streets when he could suddenly hear a sound. He later saw a man trying to gather a crowd. He told that an execution will be held for a traitor that did not do what the Satans asked them to do. Sirzechs could only roll his eyes, considering executions like these are nothing new due to the presence of the resistance that were waging war against the government. He decided to head there anyway to see whose execution was it. At the capital city of Lucifad, Sirzechs could see a woman at a distance who was chained to a pike on a pedestal with the words "traitor" written on a board. Everyone present was shocked when they could see her present in such a brutal condition. They knew that she was the most utmost and loyal person to all the government. Most of them could not believe that she could do such a thing. Sirzechs was in utter shock and terror as he could see the woman he loved on a pedestal, chained and beaten up and unable to move. She could barely open her eyes due to the torture they put her trough. This was Grayfia Lucifage, the once right-hand lady now deemed traitor to the government. She had the look of sadness and betrayal in her eyes. She felt like her whole world came crashing down on her. Flashback. Grayfia could be seen walking through the halls of what looked like the mansion of Lucifage. She was visiting her father and brother Euclid, who were eagerly waiting for her arrival. They wanted to know what she was doing. Euclid just wanted to see his sister after her work of keeping a watch on Sirzechs. Euclid, Nisama, you arrived. Grayfia, Euclid, I missed you too. Lord Lucifage, Grayfia, my dear, how are you doing considering your job? Grayfia, I am fine, father. It is just sometimes too tiring with watching over Sirzechs. He is a good man who just wants the best for his people. But today was something else. He was in despair due to the death of his choir at the hands of the government. Lord Lucifage, yeah, I heard about the situation at Lucifad. Several innocents were killed. I am now regretting supporting the government, considering their current actions, but now I just do not know what to do. Grayfia, I don't know also what needs to be done, Father. Euclid, but Father, as the House of Lucifage, we swore loyalty to the Lucifer and the other satanic clans, as the 6 houses of Lucifer. Lord Lucifage, sigh, I know my son, but we do not seem to have a choice judging by how things will be soon. With that, a messenger arrives at the doorstep. He immediately requests for Grayfia to be called to the meeting, as Rizevim has himself called her to the meeting. Grayfia then heads to the place. She is then immediately handcuffed and brought to trial, where she is tortured by few devils. They are convinced that she had turned on the Satans when she decided to not inform them about Sirzechs' whereabouts. Rizevim himself had framed her for this crime. She was not even informed by the messenger for her purpose, as he himself was not even aware of what she did. Grayfia, what is the meaning of this, Rizevim Sama? Rizevim, O Grayfia, I am afraid that you have betrayed us. You did not inform us about Sirzechs and his allies' true intentions. You were supposed to watch them. You have failed me, Grayfia. Grayfia, this is a lie, Rizevim Sama. I informed you everything Sirzechs does. I even kept an eye on him due to your fear of his power. Please do not do this. Grayfia was then brutally tortured. Her hands were tied and she was constantly whipped as she was unable to move. Then all forms of magic were used on her for interrogation purposes. She tried to scream, but someone put a tape on her face, preventing her from doing so. Whenever she used her ice powers, she was stopped by Rizevim and the combined Satans, as they easily outclassed her power, rendering her powerless. She was electrified and finally decided for execution. Both Lord Lucifage and Euclid could not believe that Grayfia could betray them like this. They knew something was fishy. They assumed that Sirzechs was responsible for this accusation on their daughter. Bidlade, are you sure we should execute her? Sufam, yeah, we should. No one should be able to surpass a Leviathan's power. Dame Dasu, nobody will then challenge the Satans. With her gone, his morale will weaken. Rizevim, well said, we cannot deal with anyone that is a threat to the Satans. In canon, Rizevim is not interested in leading the Satans, but in this reality he is. With that, her execution was decided. Grayfia, on hearing this, realized the trust the Satans had on her was false. She knew her fate was sealed. There was nothing she could do. She had now lost faith in the government, whom she used to serve blindly. Flashback ends. Sirzechs silently knew Grayfia. Devil, I today will declare the execution of Grayfia Lucifage, the former head of the Lucifage clan, who became a traitor to the government as she did not comply with their order, the order of dealing with the rebels when they attacked the capital city of Lucifad. With that, the devil continues to torture Grayfia. She started to scream in pain, as magic was used against her, singing and damaging and burning her skin until it was charcoal black. Sirzechs could not even watch as tears started to form in his eyes. The woman he had loved was being brutally tortured, as she could not even stay awake due to the pain that the Satans had inflicted on her earlier. She knew that there was nothing she could do to defend herself from the devil's abilities, who only smiled as the traitor was being constantly tortured, unable to defend herself. The others could only watch in horror, as they were also unable to do anything, as the once head of the Lucifage family was being relentlessly tortured for a crime that she had not even done. After about 30 minutes, she started to drop limp and lifeless, as she could not handle the torture at the hands from the devil anymore. She was declared. As for Sirzechs, everything had stopped. It was as if he could only see himself, and in front of him was Grayfia, who was begging him to help. But he could not do anything, as he was not strong enough to deal with the Satans alone, especially with Rizevim now helping them against the resistance. She cried and cried, asking him for help, but Sirzechs could only see in horror as she was brutally beaten and tortured at the hands of the Satans. He froze due to his inability to do anything. A dark shadow started to loom over the crimson-haired prince. He was helpless, unable to protect his lover from the torture, mocking him for his weakness. Oh, how you failed. You are the strongest in the Gremory family, yet you failed to protect the woman you loved. You are really pathetic, Sirzechs Gremory. Sirzechs and remove Palpatine and replace Vader with Sirzechs. After the execution, everyone returned homes, fearing for what may happen to them if they joined the resistance or turned their backs on their government. Only one person had remained, Sirzechs Gremory. He watched as everyone just walked out without any care for the world. Sirzechs then rushed towards Grayfia. She was barely breathing. She opened her eyes to see Sirzechs crying, tears rushing out of his eyes. She could only tear up as she saw him as the only one who genuinely cared for her, while the others, including her parents, did not even show up to her execution. Sirzechs, in a teary voice, "No, you can't die on me, Grayfia. I cannot let you die." Grayfia, voice breaking away, "No, Sirzechs, please don't cry, you are supposed to be smiling. Sirzechs, don't speak please, I will find a way to save you, please believe me." Grayfia, id o noti asterisk cough asterisk have much teamy left, please, see look after my family, y for me. Sirzechs, no please don't say this, there is a way, there has to be a way to bring you back to full health, please do not die on me like this. Grayfia, I am so rry Sirzechs, I am afraid the ray is not teaching you can do for me. Sirzechs, please don't say like this, please do not lose hope. Grayfia, remember, I'll always love you. With that, Grayfia is now dead, succumbing to her injuries. She died for something she did not even do. There is nothing that Sirzechs could do to help her. Sirzechs burst out crying, being completely helpless and unable to save Grayfia from being executed. Sirzechs, crying, knew Grayfia in a low voice, "I will protect your family for your sake, I will avenge you. The Satans will payyyy for what they did. With that, Sirzechs proceeds to give a proper funeral for his beloved lover. Devil Civil War 2. Continuing from our story last time, it was a living nightmare for our hero Sirzechs Gremory. He not only lost one of the few reasons for fighting against the devils, but also he saw how far the government had fallen. Initially, he only wanted to free the devils from the corrupt government, but now he wanted revenge. He wanted them to suffer from their cruel actions. There will be no mercy for the devil faction. The devil kind, on hearing the news of Grayfia's execution, were heartbroken and devastated on what had happened to her. They knew how she was, they realized how far the government had fallen, but yet none of them were strong enough to turn on the government. It was more or less a regime at this point, a regime that will execute anyone that dared turn its back on them. Even the rebellion had become demoralized due to their arbitrary actions. However, not all devils were demoralized, especially the 4 devils that had the potential to even surpass the current Maos in their prime. They were instead more convicted to join the rebellion in order to end their tyranny once and for all, especially Seraphal, who was once a friend to the now-deceased Grayfia, who also wanted vengeance against the government, as she figured out the hidden meaning behind their actions. She knew that this was an attempt to attack Sirzechs. She is not going to forgive them for what they did, especially Rizevim, the one who started this chaos to begin with. Seraphal, I am really sorry, Sirtan. I didn't know they would go this far. Sirzechs, Adjuka, please respond, Sirzechs. Sirzechs, in a low voice, guys, please leave me alone. Falbium, you heard him, guys. He needs some space. He just lost Grayfia. Give him some time. They all leave the grieving man in order to discuss with his parents Venalina and Rizevim, who were worried about their son since Grayfia's death. They knew how this may result in a negative impact. They knew how this may end not only for him, but also for the whole of Underworld in general. Venalina, is he? Seraphal, he is still grieving. Rizevim, in an angry voice, how could they? All she had was serve them loyally. She even went on to spy on him for their sake, and this is how they repay her, by branding her a traitor. How could they? Seraphal, your anger is justifiable, Lord Gremory, but there is nothing that can be done for the time being. Charging at the government is nothing but suicide. Please try to understand. Venalina, she was a good child. Sniff, she did not deserve this asterisk. Sniff. Adjuka, Lady Gremory, she did not know what they were gonna turn their backs on her. They wanted to break him, your son. Falbium, but rest assured, Lord and Lady Gremory, vengeance shall be served. There will be no mercy towards those devils. Nay, they are worse than devils. They are monsters wearing the skin of devils. They will get what they deserve. At Fallen Angel HQ, Gregory. Azazel, they did what? Baraquil, they killed Grayfia Lucifuge, the heir to the Lucifuge family. Apparently she had betrayed them and joined the rebellion. Azazel, Baraquil, I just hope that this does not have some negative consequences that may affect us. Make sure to increase the defense on the borders. Baraquil, as you prefer, Azazel. Azazel, what are you gonna do, Sirzechs? Back at the Rebel HQ. Lord Agars, so are you for sure about joining us? Sirzechs, yes, we have made our choice. Serafal, the government will suffer for its injustice against the citizens. Adjuka, we will not let the deaths of those civilians and Grayfia's death go down in vain. Sirzechs stiffened on hearing her name. He still believed he failed her, but decided to deal with them as a sort of repentance. Oh, how the irony. Zekram, it is still hard to believe they could kill her. She was so innocent. Falbium, those people are complete maniacs with no care for civilian or allied life. They will do whatever it takes to win. They only want to rule the realms. Zekram, it would be a living nightmare for everyone if such a thing ever happens. Humans, fallen angels, everyone would suffer due to them. Sirzechs, we will not let that happen. We will not let another victim like those people suffer due to what had happened. That they will be stopped. We will not let those bastards drive the devil kind to extinction due to their actions and desire for another great war. Zekram, glad to have you guys on board. Now we will actually have a fighting chance against them. They need to stop this madness. But the question is, how are we going to deal with Rizevim, since he is not only the direct descendant of Lucifer, but also his magic prowess is far stronger than the other three Satans combined. Sirzechs, I will deal with him. He is my target. I will make him suffer for what he did. Sirzechs said in an angered and determined voice. It was enough to make everyone present in the room shiver due to the sheer power he possessed. They knew that he is not someone to be angered, considering he just lost the love of his life. Serafal, with that said, what are we going to do next? How are we gonna deal with the other Satans as well as the other 6 houses that have been aligned with them? Sirzechs, we have to declare war on them. This is the only way that they can be stopped. Adjuka, I will deal with Leviathan. 6 months have passed since the initial beginning of the civil war, with the 4 heirs to the families joining, and things have been looking in favor of the rebellion. A battle that could well determine the outcome of the civil war was taking place in the former domain of the now extinct Gyusian family. The Gyusian domain, abandoned long ago, had become nothing more than ruins and was now habitat for wild beasts. In heaven, 2 powerful demons faced each other in furious combat. They were the ace of resistance, Adjuka Astaroth, and the daughter of Mau Leviathan, Tepharm Tarik Leviathan. Ends, the battle will go pretty much the same as it is in the light novel. Those who have read know how will it end, but the outcome is gonna be the same no matter what. Adjuka's troops had started a battle with Leviathan's troops, who were stationed around the center of the Gyusian domain. After taking down all Afhai's generals, Adjuka's forces had driven Tepharm around a corner. Forced Tothai's position, Tepharm decided to go out onto the battlefield and launch a devastating attacks against Adjuka's troops. In response, Adjuka, who was the only one able to compete against her, decided to face her directly. Adjuka and Tepharm launched huge attacks of demonic powers at each other in the middle of the sky. Tepharm extended his 12 black wings from his back, generating a large amount of water that formed from the aura that was floating in Hishand. Leviathan possessed the power of the Marinha sea serpent dragon of the end. It controlled the oceans of the human kingdom and was powerful enough to cause massive chaos. But they said that power could not be used to its full potential due to the fact that the underworld lacked oceans. Still, Tepharm was still the daughter of Mau Leviathan. The power within her and her talents were the best among her class. Even without the oceans in the underworld, the water it generated with its immense aura was able to completely defeat high-class demons and even those above them, the ultimate class demons, or so they thought. With enough water to flood an entire city, Tepharm caused several supernatural phenomena and tried to raise a wall of water, pointing at Adjuka. The water also squirmed and spun as if it were conscious, forming numerous spears and attacking Adjuka from all directions. Likewise, powerful marine beasts such as giant fish, snakes, and titans also attacked him. These were enough to wipe out an army of millions or even tens of millions of soldiers. However, none of these attacks were effective against Adjuka, who managed to incapacitate each of his attacks with a small magic circle. and the wall of water that was heading towards him immediately became mist and evaporated. He dodged and evaded all the numerous spears thrown at him. Even the beasts that attacked him suddenly acted as if they had lost their heads and sank back into the water magic of Tepharm, capable of swallowing an army of 10 million. Tepharm KGH. Ajuka looks like I have the high ground. Tepharm not for long, traitor. Tepharm was shocked at the brutality as well as sheer control of Ajuka's ability. Ajuka was very young and had not even lived 100 years. However, he had disabled the attacks of the daughter of Amao, who intended to take the throne in the next generation, using nothing more than a single magic circle. Only a soft aura that rose from Ajuka's body. It all came out of the little magic circle he created in his hand. Ajuka instantly recognized his opponent's attacks, analyzed the various supernatural phenomena that Tepharm created, several formulas, and fought them with multiple solutions, diffusing each of the attacks that she launched at him. It sounded simple, but there had never been anyone with enough power to face Tepharm before. If you made a single mistake at any time, all would be lost. However, Ajuka handicapped Tepharm's attacks masterfully. Mao Leviathan's daughter was severely injured and was losing her breath. This is due to the fact that Ajuka caused his own magic against herself. Her own magical attacks were not only used against her, but Ajuka also calculated in such a way that she herself could not escape them. And since Ajuka calculated this magic very efficiently, its impact increased dramatically. Ajuka controlled Tepharm's magic even better than she did, which made her feel humiliated. Each time he attacked, Mao's daughter seemed obliged to face the defects of her own magical forces, and for that reason she suffered damage. She had to remember that her opponent was from a much lower class family than hers. Her own magical attacks were not only used against her, but Ajuka also calculated in such a way that she herself could not escape them. And as Ajuka calculated this magic very efficiently, its impact increased dramatically. Ajuka controlled Tepharm's magic even better than she did, which made her feel humiliated. Each time he attacked, Mao's daughter seemed obliged to face the defects of her own magical forces, and for that reason she suffered damage. She had to remember that her opponent was from a much lower class family than hers. Her own magical attacks were not only used against her, but Ajuka also calculated in such a way that she herself could not escape them. And as Ajuka calculated this magic very efficiently, its impact increased dramatically. Ajuka controlled Tepharm's magic even better than she did, which made her feel humiliated. Each time attacked, Mao's daughter seemed obliged to face the defects of her own magical forces, and for that reason she suffered damage. She had to remember that her opponent was from a much lower class family than hers, which made her feel humiliated. Each time he attacked, Mao's daughter seemed obliged to face the defects of her own magical forces, and for that reason she suffered damage. She had to remember that her opponent was from a much lower class family than hers, which made her feel humiliated. Each time he attacked, Mao's daughter seemed obliged to face the defects of her own magical forces, and for that reason she suffered damage. She had to remember that her opponent was from a much lower class family than hers. Tepharm shouted as she wiped the blood that dripped from her mouth. Tepharm, you insignificant demon of the 72 pillars. Ajuka merely shrugs. Ajuka, it looks like the insignificant demon of the 72 pillars here is leaving you in dire straits. Tepharm furious, damn Yawu, take this. With his fury at its highest point, Tepharm released extreme pressure, enveloping himself in a dark blue aura. Her body grew bigger and bigger and took on a new shape little by little. In front of Ajuka, a giant floating dragon appeared, a serpent-shaped dragon, thin and long. This serpent-shaped dragon was the true form of Leviathan, an indescribable aura emanated from Tepharm's dragon-shaped body. She opened her mouth wide and fired a giant dark blue aura. She fired not just once but several times, a titanic torrent. It was a violent and fatal aura, but Ajuka showed calm and started his strategy to defeat it. Every aura fired at him was deflected and flew in different directions. Behind Ajuka, the deflected auras generated massive explosions. Tepharm Dragon's eyes were startled. Tepharm, impossible, this cannot be happening. Tepharm had extrapolated his abilities to the maximum, had gone with everything. This explosion would have ended an entire army with one blow, but she didn't even tickle the demon who was standing in front of her. Ajuka, I think it worked. I've never fought anyone in your class before, so it didn't know what was going to happen, but I am surprised it did. Tepharm, are you really a demon from the Astaroth family? You are not even a descendant of any of the Maoists. Adjuka, this power would make a lot more sense if you were a lost son of one of the ancient Maois, but unfortunately for you, I am a legitimate member of the Asteroth family. Tefarm with fear, liar, how can this level of power come from such a low bloodline? Adjuka did not even understand his own existence. Since he was born, everything he has done has been extraordinary, and to avoid the eyes off Maois families, the Asteroth family has eliminated or falsified Adjuka's achievements. Even in combat, the only ones who could rival Hispers were Sirzechs, Serafal, and Falbium. In fact, Sirzechs was probably the only one with whom he could engage in serious combat. Had thought that a Mao's daughter could finally pose a challenge beyond Sirzechs. Letting out a sigh, he asked Tefarm. Adjuka, now Tefarm Ajusama, what are you going to do next? I could forgive you if you surrender this instant, but if I choose to resist, I will have to, well. Tefarm with anger and fear, I, the daughter of Mao Leviathan, will never surrender to people like you. Garbage. Adjuka. With that, Adjuka kills her. The battle ended with Adjuka's clear and indisputable victory over Tefarm. Back at the capital city of Lucifod. Devil soldier, my lord, Tefarm has been defeated. Rizevim, woe, should I be fearful? Devil, but my lord. Before the soldier could finish, Rizevim grabbed him and said, Rizevim, listen here, you little shit. I do not care about them. I do not care about the rebellion. They cannot hurt me nor kill me, so do not offend me or you will die. So if you wish to survive, then leave me. Devil with fear, as you wish, my lord. Rizevim, despite being calm, was actually furious, not because someone killed the descendant of Leviathan, but someone had hurt his pride. He thought that by killing Grayfia, Sirzechs and his friends will be demoralized, but it took the opposite effect. It instead made them more determined to beat him once and for all. Rizevim, angry, you may have won the battle, Sirzechs, but the war is far from over. I will kill you and your friends and family, and I will enjoy doing it. Just wait and watch. Rizevim starts to laugh maniacally, but little does he know that a big storm is heading his way. Every action has consequences, and he will reap what he sows. Devil Civil War 3. Continuing from our story last time, things were looking pretty good for our hero Sirzechs. With the defeat and death of one of the four Maoists, Tefarm Leviathan, the rebellion was able to push through the defenses of the government and deal a massive blow to them, incapacitating them. The fighting continued for 2 months until it was a complete victory for the Alliance. That was when Euclid Lucifuge. Grayfia's younger brother decided to jump in the fray in order to fight against the Alliance once and for all. At Grayfia's gravesite. Euclid, I will avenge you, Ni-sama. He will pay for what he has done. With that, he walks away to enter for the war against the Alliance. For Euclid, he blames Sirzechs for stealing his sister away, but in reality, he is completely delusional and believes that the Maoists should rule the underworld instead of these imposters. Grayfia's death made him even more worse and apathetic towards the rebel cause. Flashback. Lord Lucifuge, I do not know, son. I find it not right to join the government. My instinct tells me something is going wrong in the government. Euclid, father, I have made my decision. I will not be joining the rebellion. Those low-class devils do not deserve the right to rule. Lord Lucifuge, but listen to me. They are not responsible for Grayfia's death. Euclid, father, I have made my decision. I will be joining the government. Sirzechs Gremory will pay for killing my sister. Lord Lucifuge, but son. Euclid leaves his father's quarters. His thoughts were on how to get back towards Sirzechs for hurting and killing his sister. He knew that he was not strong enough to kill him, so he decided to collaborate with the House of Nibiros in order to kill him. The plan was to use the male branch in order to transform the heir of Asmodeus into a fly chimera, powerful enough to kill him, thus demoralizing the Alliance. Lord Lucifuge wonders whether he raised his son correctly or not. He knew that he was pretty stubborn. He knew that he was not going to listen to reason. This was further worsened when his daughter was killed. At first he thought that Grayfia died because of Sirzechs, but when his heart did not believe it, he felt that something was wrong with the government, which now had been acting more suspiciously and weirdly, especially after the four heirs joined the rebel cause. End of flashback. At the rebel base Agar's domain. Lord Agar's, good job Adjuka, with one Satan down the power levels of the government must have certainly reduced. Sirzechs, no, I'm afraid it is not. Zekram, what do you mean Sirzechs? Sirzechs, Tepharm is not even close to being a threat for us. The main problem is the heir of Lucifer, Rizevim himself. He himself wants me dead. He knows that my power is a threat to the government. He will do anything to stop me. Zekram knew that there were many Lucifer sympathizers in the alliance as well. He knew that his presence and existence may be a problem not only to the rebellion, but also it may end up demoralizing them. Rizevim is one of the few beings that can go beyond the category of the ultimate class devils. He knew that he could easily beat him and Lord Agar's single-handedly. Sirzechs, on the other hand, knew that Rizevim is the one that he should be weary of. He has never seen him in his full power. He did not know what to do in order to deal him, as he is capable of not only fighting him at his full power, but also is capable of easily killing both Seraphal and Falbium. Seraphal, so what should we do for now? I mean, when can we fight the other two Maoists as well? Ajuka, I believe now would be the time to rest and recover strength, since fighting them in an exhausted state is pointless. Lord Agars, Ajuka is right. You guys are the aces of the resistance. Losing you would be quite an issue. Therefore, it would be better if you guys and rest and recover your lost strength. It would be wise to go back to your families. They would love to be with you guys. Sirzechs and the other three leaders agree to do so. They all head back to their houses to rest and recover. As for the war, both sides are at a temporary truce since neither wanted to lose men, as it is very important for them to recover rather than attack. They then decided to plan their next attack 4 months from now so that they can prepare and train for their next battle. They knew that the battle with Rizevim is not going to be an easy one. They must take him down before it is too late. The rebels decided to begin their next attack in order to deal with the next Mao. They had just defeated Tepharm Tariq Leviathan and his army months ago, used the momentum of their victory as they headed for the capital Lucifad. However, there was another region in which the battle was becoming extreme at the same time. In the domain of the now defunct Valifar family, the resistance troops led by Seraphal Citri were about to corner the son of Mao Asmodeus Dammatus Zeracle Asmodeus and his troops, thanks to his overwhelming power. But then the situation suddenly changed. A powerful ally came to help Asmodeus. The army of the 6 families descended from Lucifer, led by Euclid Lucifuge, decided to join the fight, and the royal army regained its strength. Euclid Lucifuge positioned himself at the front line to deal with Seraphal Citri, who, with his demonic ice power, was repressing the first-rate troops of the royal army alone. He knew that dealing with Seraphal is not going to be easy considering that she is one of aces of the rebellion. Euclid, why you? Seraphal, listen to me, Euclid. Sirzechs is not responsible for your sister's death. It was Rizevim that did it. Euclid, that monster is responsible for my sister's demise. Had she killed him when he had his guard down, none of this would have happened. My sister would have been alive, and also the man causing chaos would have been taken down. Seraphal, this is not what I meant. Rizevim had her killed to weaken Sirzechs. He did to demoralize him, to demoralize us. He wanted to hurt him by killing her. Please listen to me. Euclid, do not speak about Rizevim. Traitor, he told me everything. You still lie about him. You still fight for his sake. Seraphal, looks like there is no convincing you. I am sorry, Grayfia. With that, the battle between the two generals begins. It was an intense one with neither side backing down. There were hundreds, if not thousands, of casualties on both sides, but neither side gave up. They knew that if either side gave up, it would affect them. Is a great prospect. There was nothing the troops could do. As for Dammatus, he was in awe that how could he be so weak? He could do nothing but watch as the two generals fought viciously. He wanted to kill Seraphal for treason, but if he tried to jump into the fray, he would get himself and his troops killed, and considering the defeat of Tepharm, there was nothing he could do. Back with Euclid and Seraphal. Euclid, how are you this strong? Seraphal, considering I have 60 years of fighting experience, it is not a wise choice to fight against an opponent with better experience. Euclid, damn you, I will kill you no matter what it takes. Seraphal, you know your sister Grayfia would be ashamed seeing you like this. You are literally mocking her by siding with the people that were killing her. She could not even look you in the eye, considering you will be able to redeem yourself after this attack. Euclid, do not use her name from your foul mouth. Tritor. Serafal, how disappointing. With that, Serafal used Cross Celsius trigger, freezing anyone that was in her way as well as severely injuring Euclid. Ice shards were inserted in his body, completely incapacitating him. Serafal then used ice chunks to impale the heir of Lucifuge, rendering him unable to battle. He could only watch in sadness and hatred as he viewed Serafal in contempt and hatred. Euclid, I am sorry Nisama, I failed you. With that, the battle between Euclid and Serafal had ended. She then proceeds to approach Damatus in order to defeat him and his troops once and for all. He viewed Serafal in hatred as he not only saw her as a lower-class being but also viewed her as pathetically weak. Yet he still got his ass handed to him by her. Serafal, wanna surrender? Damatus, no, I will never bow to filth like you. You betrayed us for your own selfish reasons, you pathetic little traitor. Serafal, I see how it is then. Looks like your fate is pretty sealed. Before Serafal could finish the job, Zeoroma Nibiros had came and released the male branch on the young heir of Asmodeus, thus transforming into a being known as the Fly Chimera. This forced Serafal to back away from the being. She realized that this would be the fight of her life. That was when the reinforcements under the lead of Sirzechs Gremory showed up in order to defeat the Chimera once and for all. Sirzechs, Serafal, you okay? Serafal, yeah, aside from a few bruises I am fine. Sirzechs, Damatus-sama, it would be wise for you to surrender. Look around you, the troops even on your side has been suffering from poison released by you. It would be unwise for you to continue this fight. Damatus, ha 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 ha, do you really think I would surrender considering how it is going on? I would rather win and kill everyone than let you all live, now perish mongrels. Sirzechs, your funeral then. With that, Sirzechs transforms into his destructive form. He basically had a crimson covering with a red outline. This is the true power Sirzechs was hiding. He knew that the Maoists will attack and maybe even kill his parents. This is something he did not want and probably would have never wanted, but the government forced his hand. Damatus's voice had become so chaotic, it seemed as if he needed conscience or intelligence. The fly-shaped chimera began to generate a dense black mistall over his body. Then, when the vegetation in the soil came into contact with this mist, it disintegrated instantly, which corroded even in the soil that surrounded it. Sirzechs, poison, and a very dangerous one. Sirzechs was about to launch an attack, but he realized that the poisonous mist would reach Euclid, who was still unconscious, as well as his own allied troops. He took Euclid and fled Theria to warn the rest. The deadly haze of the fly-shaped chimera would drastically change the course of the war. The battle between the royal army and the resistance army that was taking place in the former domain of Valifar was going out of control thanks to the sudden appearance of the mysterious fly-shaped chimera. The poisonous dark mist that the beast was generating from its body gradually spread across the battlefield, raining down on the soldiers who were fighting there. Devils Gogan and Gigaya. Those who inhaled or came into contact with the poison at that moment began to drown, and soon the blood welled up from every hole in their bodies until they finally sprayed. The pulverized bodies of those who breathed the toxic substance also became a deadly poison, contaminating vast battlefield at an alarming rate. The chimera fly just had to move and breathe for the poison to spread. If someone attacked, their flesh would explode and the blood would splash. The blood itself would also become poison. The chimera fly was spreading its deadly poison among the troops on both sides, causing massive destruction. The chimera that appeared in the old Valifar domain had advanced North Lake on the west side of that territory. No one knew exactly why Thebes had moved to this place, but in the vicinity of the lake there were still some residents who lived there. Inevitably, the beast's poison would kill the villagers. Furthermore, judging by his actions to date, it was very likely that the fly-shaped chimera would also advance to the neighboring domain. The neighboring domain was ruled by high-class demons. Unlike the fallen domain Valifar, there were many common demons that lived there. Damatus, well, but if it is nothing less than the ace of the resistance army. It seemed to have retained awareness of its pre-transformation. Sirzechs, just ahead is a city where the residents of the old Valifar domain live. They have nothing to get involved in this conflict. They must not be drawn into this war. I ask you to leave right now. Damatus, yes, I know, I can smell them. I can smell it farther than where they are. In fact, I am intentionally heading there right now. Sirzechs, with hesitance, you mean you are not heading for bad luck? Damnatus baffafafafafa, that's right. The poison released from this body, rotting gall animals, soldiers, nature, everything. It makes me feel so good. His eyes were fragile, as if something was possessing him completely. After realizing that trying to convince him with dialogue was meaningless, Sirzechs created a sphere of aura of destruction in his hand and fired to deliver the first blow. He hit the Chimera's torso and managed to pull out part of it. Then a gush of blood came out. Since even his blood was fatally poisonous, when it came into contact with the ground, it became a grotesque black mass. The muscles in the injured area swelled and began to regenerate, returning to normal. A power of destruction with medium power was not going to be enough. I needed to use it with maximum strength and eliminate this beast in one stroke. Damnatus, I remember. Before the war started in the capital, it was me ordered the massacre of rebels, including the residents. Sirzechs recalled the armed conflict that broke out in the capital before the civil war started. The youth choir Gremory had ended in the midst of all this conflict, and unfortunately they were cruelly murdered. The young Beelzebub, converted to a chimera, had stated without any remorse that he had ordered the massacre that took place in the capital before the war formally started. Damnatus, later I heard that your precious choir had a terrible fate. Ha 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 ha, I even heard that a servant of Lucifer was executed. The chimera started to laugh, then made another terrible observation. Damnatus, Grayfia, wasn't it? There are no hard feelings. These events with humble citizens are merilipastimes for the upper class. It's good for you. Now you can teach a completely new choir from the beginning. Sirzechs recalled the smiles of the choir's children and his lover, listening, and seeing that he considered the demons beneath him to be simple worms. Sirzechs made a decision. He took a step forward and Agiant aura started to come out of his body. At the same time, the earth began to shake. Sirzechs invoked his destruction aura, and his body began to glow more and more in crimson. Sirzechs, I wish that all demons live in peace in the underworld, not only for the nobles but also for the residents and even the animals. Let them wait forth future with a smile, for all those to whom you did not want to give this simple life. The thick mist of poison that covered the peripheral area was being eliminated by Sirzechs' giant aura. The power of destruction was launched to its full extent, and when it exploded, a gigantic humanoid concentration of aura of destruction floated. It is a beast of destruction. Sirzechs, I will use this power to retrace the path that the underworld is taking. Being a witness to Sirzechs' true form, with his giant aura generating from his body, the chimera began to tremble. Damnatus, I impossible. What is this aura and ridiculous form? Is that the form of power of destruction? But even as he trembled, the chimera began to cast numerous powerful auras from his eyes along with poisonous attacks, but all of these were neutralized by Sirzechs' aura of destruction. Sirzechs had shown his true form to only a few. Among them were his friends Serafal, Ajuka, and Falbium. In fact, he was only able to generate Teth's ability within a remote area within an alternative dimension that Ajuka had created. Sirzechs concentrated a great deal of aura in his hand, pressing it several times. What emerged were a few spherical auras made from the concentrated aura. Sirzechs controlled these spheres in the air freely and launched them towards the chimera. The beast tried to generate a defensive aura, but it was easily passed through, and the spheres tore at its flesh and body. Once all the spheres were inside the creature, Sirzechs put his hand forward and squeezed hard to destroy. With a volcanic sound, the spheres inside the chimera began to release. Once the aura of destruction liber was released, it began to overflow from within the beast, and all parts of its body that came into contact with the spheres began to dissipate. Ruin of extinction, this was Sirzechs' hidden ability. The wings, the legs, the torso, all parts of the chimera's body were being spread by the deep crimson aura. The power of destruction has finally come to mind. Damnatus, you, what is? And with those last words, the chimera disappeared from the face of the earth. The improved destruction power has even eliminated the poison, preventing the earth from further contamination. Sirzechs then powered down. He then proceeded to Serafal, making sure that his friend was all right. It was then a tendril had pierced Serafal, who had her guard down. Sirzechs and with that, Serafal falls limp on her body. Her pulse can no longer be heard. Euclid, ha, now I can have my vengeance. Grayfia would be so proud. Sirzechs and you are gonna pay for this, Euclid. Before Euclid could even react, Sirzechs lunged at him. He proceeded to tear the weakened Euclid apart like he was nothing. Euclid screamed in agony as he could feel his flesh being ripped out like he was being skinned alive. He could not fight him, especially in his angered state. Euclid felt like his time had come. He knew that it was pointless since he was extremely weakened as well as being brutally assaulted by him. Sirzechs, you know I would have spared you considering you are Grayfia's little brother, but now you have forced my hand. I did not want to hurt you nor kill you, but I will do what I must. Now prepare yourself, Euclid. With that, he charges a blast of destruction on the Lucifuger. Sirzechs, begone. Euclid was erased out of existence. There was nothing left of him. Sirzechs knew that at least he would be reunited with his sister. He then knew what he needed to do next. He decided to meet Lord Lucifuge in order to tell him about his son's demise. Bang, that's it for this chapter. The next chapter is where another battle will happen and a very dark twist will happen. Let me know in the comments on how to improve, and I will see y'all later. Peace. Devil Civil War 4. Continuing from our story last time, things were starting to take a very pleasant turn for the Resistance. One more Satan descendant was taken down, resulting in the old Satan faction starting to lose their morale as well as their determination. Due to this, the current leader of the old Satan faction, Rizevim Lucifer, decided to take matters into his own hands, resulting in the deaths of thousands of Resistance troops, along with several innocent civilians. The battle ended up being a disaster on both sides, with thousands of casualties as well as several injured and demoralized troops. Sirzechs himself was badly injured, but he eventually recovered both physically and mentally. He then asked one of his generals about the status as well as casualties of the war. Sirzechs status report. General, thousands of casualties on both the sides. Several soldiers are injured as well as some of them are even giving up because of facing the Lucifer descendant. What are your orders, Sirzechs-sama? Sirzechs, we lay low for the time being. Let our strength recover as well as let our morality. We need to recruit soldiers in order to fight against High. I could fight him, but this would result in catastrophic damage on both the sides. 12:00 a.m. at the Resistance HQ, Castle of Legorum Domain. Midnight declared a state of emergency at headquarters. The line of defense that stood on the border of the former Aligar domain had been ambushed. Although the attack occurred some distance from the headquarters, the destruction of this line could not be ignored. The troops, awakened by the commotion, took their weapons and prepared for the emergency attack. One of the Resistance army officers entered the strategy room and asked the soldiers, "Soldier, what force in the Royal Army ambushed it?" "Guards, they confirmed the flags. They are from Lord Agilaript and Lord Flurity, sir." "Zekram, it seems like 2 of the 6 families descended from Lucifer set up an ambush for us. There were about 200 elements. It must be an elite force." Even under such a situation, Zekram Bale remained calm and spoke while rubbing his chin. "Zekram, normally the 6 families would be protecting the perimeters of the capital Lucifod, but in return they ambushed us with an elite force of approximately 200 men. But how is it possible that we cannot see them coming until they arrive at our border? They probably hid in blind spots in places that our troops passed by without noticing. What do you think, Falbium?" Sitting next to Zekram Bale was Falbium Glacialabolas, who is the current advisor to the Resistance army. Although he had a perfect body, he had always been an unenthusiastic man. However, he was an indispensable figure who brought effective strategies to each battle. Falbium, since the Aligar family was under Flurity's control during the Great War between the 3 factions, perhaps they knew some secret passages that we did not. However, judging by his actions, it seems Thathay's strategist's intentions were useless, and did not communicate very well between them. The only people who would challenge the Beelzebub family's imperial order would be the 6 houses descended from Lucifer, but normally the Lucifugus family would be there to stop it. And if that is not what happened, then something unexpected happened, or they were so desperate that they had to take this big risk. Zekram nodded at Falbium's words. "Zekram, Falbium, can you do something? The quickest way to resolve the situation is for you to leave." Falbium lowered his shoulders in response to Zekram Bale's words, and with a lazy expression he replied, "Falbium, you mean this is the cheapest way, don't you? Well, I suppose that's their ass and why I'm here after all. My goodness, this is complicated." In addition to assisting with strategy, Falbium Glacialabolas had another mission. He was the last resort in case the last line of defense at the Resistance headquarters fell. At the border of the former Aligar domain, about 200 Royal Army troops fired aura towards the resistance troops who guarded the perimeter. It had 2 flags of the 6 families descended from Mao Lucifer, Lord Agalarept and Lord Flurity. This elite force fired a powerful aura that did significant damage to the resistance army's defenses. The leaders of Casas Agalarept and Flurity were in charge. Lord Agalarept and Lord Flurity, take Zekram Bale's head, and the direction of this war will change fire. Uwag. The elite force was large, and fired endless magical explosions. In the midst of all this, a demon with a titanium body slowly emerged from the resistance's line of defense. The elite troops relentlessly fired their magic at the demon. Countless explosions and fire focused only on Hai's figure and distorted his surroundings. The ground folded and collapsed violently, and dust covered the space between the resistance army and the royal army, blinding everything in sight. Then the dust settled, and there he was, Falbium Glaciolabolas, standing just there, unharmed. Witnessing Falbium's unharmed state, the leaders of Lords Agalarept and Flurity were stunned. Lord Agalarept and Lord Flurity, it can't be. The elite forces of both houses were also stunned by Falbium's unharmed state after receiving numerous explosions of magic. Falbium, I'm sorry, but it won't work. Upon hearing these words, the leader of Lord Agalarept ground his teeth, pointing his words in front of him once more, and he shouted, Lord Agalarept, fire, 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 fire. The elite force responded to the order and began to fire powerful explosions of magic continuously, without stopping. However, the orange aura that enveloped Falbium did not move at all by the attacks. None of the magic shots that the elite force launched had any effect on him. Even under the fire he received incessantly, he murmured to himself without enthusiasm, as always. Falbium, I'm sure you heard about me before. Well, I believe that I am known as well known as Sirzechs. Falbium Glaciolabolas was born with the absolute defense ability. He could, as his name suggests, block all attacks. Falbium's body was constantly enveloped in an orange aura. However, this intensified and was no extraordinary. Neither an upper-class demon nor anyone with a higher ranking could destroy Falbium's aura. Even the light of the angels, which demons are usually weak in, could not move Falbium's aura at all. Sirzechs' power of destruction era was the only one that could disable it, but the aura barrier could always regenerate. Just as Sirzechs' body has always been enveloped in power of destruction, Falbium's has always been enveloped in its absolute defense aura. Falbium always said he would lose if he ever had to fight Sirzechs, and he recognized that he was better than him. It was said that as of now, Theonli demons in the underworld who are currently capable of doing damage to Falbium were Sirzechs, Ajuka, Seraphal, and Grayfia, and, of course, Rizevim, and Lucifer. However, absolute defense was not his only skill. There was a phaneron that the lazy Falbium had created for himself. Once the dust generated by the attacks of demonic power had dissipated, Falbium changed his orange aura and put himself in an offensive position. Falbium, oh, it's true, no one has yet seen my offensive strategy. I only showed it to my close friends, as it sucks. Do people think I'm just a tough piece of meat that likes to think about strategies? Is that why you thought you had a chance to beat me? Falbium was thoughtful in his own self-deliberation session. Falbium, in any case, I suppose I will simply demonstrate that they are wrong. He said, while releasing an immeasurable amount of aura out of his body. The royal army was terrified to see Falbium unleash all its power, but it also infused fear into the allied resistance troops. Falbium held out his hands, and from there he shot a gigantic aura towards the royal army. His attack almost destroyed all the surroundings in front of him. The only attack that Falbium had created was one that would absorb all the fences that were directed at him, and allowed him to attack with his demonic power. The more powerful attacks you endured, the stronger your counterattacks were soon. Falbium launched all the attacks absorbed in a single explosion off demonic power. Each strike fired at Falbium was returned in a single combined explosion. No one could have survived after receiving a blow from such an immense and devastating demonic power. In front of the resistance, only a vast, open, and burnt land remained. The entire royal army had been destroyed, leaving only the leaders of houses Agalarept and Flurity, and a few soldiers who were fortunate not to die from such a devastating attack. Those who managed to survive also suffered very serious injuries, and if they did not treat in time, surely death awaited them. Falbium predicted this result. He thought it would be better to take some living hostages than to eliminate them completely. The heads of the Agalarypt and Flurity houses knelt on the ground and looked at Falbium angrily. Lord Agalarypt and Lord Flurity, you fool. Zekram, a whole extravagant move. It had appeared using a magic teleportation circle. Falbium, the leaders of Agalarypt and Flurity are still alive. Should we put them in custody? Zekram, treat them with care. They may be our enemies, but they supported the Maoists during the Great War of the Three Factions. Zekram Bale raised his hand and ordered his subordinates to put anti-magic handcuffs on the survivors. The two leaders of the houses were taken back to the Resistance headquarters. Lord Agalarypt and Lord Flurity, KGH. The leaders of the houses, Agalarypt and Flurity, were unable to hide their anger at being defeated. Zekram Bale, after seeing that his troops escorted those responsible for Thembush they suffered, read the latest report on the state of the war. Zekram, judging by the looks, it seems like not only was Sirzechs successful in defeating the Fly Chimera, but he also managed to kill both Euclid Lucifuge as well as Damnatus Zeracle Asmodeus. He also managed to secure victories despite the fall of Serafal Citri and thousands of soldiers due to Rizevim's interference. Falbium, losing soldiers. I don't think it is a good situation for us, King Bale. Zekram, both sides have lost soldiers, so I guess on the plus side it was their defeat. On top of that, 2 of the Satan descendant are officially dead, so that is another reason. We can now rest for the time being. The leaders of the houses, Agalarypt and Flurity, were shocked to say the least. They realized that 2 of the Satans have been killed, as it was their job to protect the 2 descendants with their lives. They decided that they had to at least defeat Falbium so that the fight would be in the favor of the Satans once again. They knew that these traitors must be stopped, so they decided to do the only thing that they could think of in order to stop. They decided to trigger the self-destruct buttons on their bodies. If they fall, they decided to take others with them. Plus, with the base of the resistance gone down, they could easily have a fighting chance. If they can die to benefit the government, they would happily do so. Falbium managed to sense the bloodlust from the lords. He tried to rush in order to stop them, but it was too late. They had already activated the self-destruct bombs. It was a bomb composed of magic. This triggered a massive explosion, nearly wiping out the base. Many soldiers had died, as well as several thousands that were at the station were wounded. Falbium managed to survive the explosion. He looked around to see that several bodies were on the floor, as well as the castle was completely destroyed. He tried to look for several survivors, but the ones managed to get to safety. He could see the Devil King Zekram Bale trying his best to survive. Falbium, my king. Falbium had rushed towards the elderly devil. He managed to help him to sit, but his injuries were too grave. He tried his best to not scream due to his injuries. Falbium realized that he should not have spared those 2 lords who did such a cowardly act to gain the upper hand on the resistance. He called a medic, but there was no response. Several devils tried to use healing magic on him, but there was nothing they could do. The nearest medical station was miles away, and the best they could do was only watch in silence as another important member of the resistance passed away. Zekram, I do not have much time. Falbium, there will be Rizevim to deal with. My job was to protect you guys. Falbium, hang in there, my king. Help will be arriving pretty soon. Medic, anyone come and help him. All the soldiers were helpless, since most of the soldiers that knew healing magic are severely injured or are dead. They were doing whatever they can to heal the Devil King. With his dying breath, Zekram said to Falbium, Zekram, when you find Sirzechs, tell him this. Falbium, what, my king? Zekram, if he faces Rizevim, do not imprison him, kill that son of a bitch. With that, Zekram succumbs to his injuries despite killing 2 heads of the 6 houses. They lost Zekram Bale, the oldest devil. Falbium decided to give the old man a proper burial, a burial meant for a soldier. Meanwhile, back at the capital city of Lucifad, Rizevim, those 2 FOOLs, what were they thinking? What was Euclid thinking? He knew that Sirzechs was a threat, yet he could be taken down. Rizevim, father, I heard you yelling. What happened? Rizevim, the resistance has already wiped out Euclid as well as Damnatus. He killed both of them mercilessly. That Sirzechs even killed a lot of troops in my army. Rizevim, what we should do then, father? Rizevim, looking at the Gremory territory, I have a plan. Rizevim had a sinister expression. He knew what he had to do next in order to break the young Sirzechs' Gremory. Flashback. In the capital city of Lusifad, there was a large residential district where Maoist families lived. Access to this district was only allowed to members of the royal families and their affiliates. There, where vast luxury estates were found, was Lucifer's gigantic castle. Preparing Tom of Castle was Lucifer's son, Rizevim live in Lucifer. He was getting Hiss and Rizevim to help him pack his things for the move. In the midst of these, a visitor arrived at the castle of Lucifer. In the large room on the first floor, Vidraid Varsharn Beelzebub, wearing Beelzebub's black armor, met with Rizevim. The two had known each other since childhood. However, they weren't exactly friends, but as the sons of Maoist Lucifer and Beelzebub, they had to relate to each other, whether they liked it or not. Rizevim smiled and greeted the arrival of Vidraid, who was the current ruler of the underworld. Rizevim, yo Vidraid. Vidraid, Rizevim, I heard you are fight against the resistance in their invasion of Lusifad. Rizevim laughed bitterly. Did you come here to see me? Well, I just have no interest in this civil war, but it also looks like you came here to scold me. Rizevim, you are going to lose, you know. Your class, power, lands, everything will be taken from you. Your pride will be called into question, and Yao will end up crying for it, you know. Rizevim said with an offensive smile on his face. Vidraid smirked and responded. No, you are wrong. I will not lose anything. Rizevim doubted Vidraid's attitude. Rizevim, however, you still want to continue. Did you inherit that horrible pride from your father? Vidraid, without acknowledging or denying, said. Vidraid, Rizevim, if you really wanted to, you could beat the resistance army, the angels, the fallen angels, even other mythological deities. I know that the evil that resides within you is legitimate. Why do you have to say such unpleasant things? But it doesn't sound like you're trying to persuade me with compliments, so what do you mean? Vidraid, there are demons at your side who outnumber the Maoists. Even in the human realm, the sacred gear system, left behind by the God of the Bible, continues to function, and the Longinus seem to be increasing in number. These things are happening even after the great existence, as described in the sacred texts, was destroyed. No one can stop the flow of these events now. He then continued. Vidraid, in a rigid tone of voice, in the distant future, even if you dedicate all your power, this flow will probably defeat you. Rizevim, hahaha, what is this about? I have no idea if you're warning me or threatening me. After all, I own the only Poss's sacred gear canceller. Their conversation ended there, and Vidraid turned his back and left the place. Then Rizevim shouted a few words behind Vidraid's back. Rizevim, well, I hope you enjoy a meaningless death well. This was just a momentary conversation that took place in the capital city of Lusifad. Meanwhile, the civil war between the government of the Maoist families and the resistance was drawing to a close. Flashback ends. Rizevim and Rizevim head towards the devil territories of Gremory. They then decide to enter the castle of the Gremory household. The members were notified of the presence. Sirzechs, Rizevim Sama and Rizevim Sama, what can I do for you? Sirzechs tried to hide the hatred in his voice as he knew that these two were the descendants of Lucifer family, but only in name. He knew that he had to be careful of them, otherwise they would be the ones to join next. Rizevim, nothing much, Lord and Lady Gremory. We ask you to convince your son to give up his efforts in the resistance. Venelina, I am afraid that cannot happen, as once Sirzechs makes up his mind, it is too hard to change it. Rizevim, with a smile of bloodlust, I see, it looks like I have no choice. Venelina, fear laced in her voice, hat are you going to do? Rizevim, this is where the fun begins. Devil Civil War 5 Finale. Continuing from our story last time, we see our hero Sirzechs fighting against the mastermind himself, the one who had taken everything from him. First his lover Grayfia Lucifuge and her brother Euclid Lucifuge, who was manipulated against Sirzechs and ended up killing Serafal, one of his close friends, the man who then later lost both his parents to that abomination of the devil known as Rizevim Liven Lucifer. We can see both Ajuka and Falbium on the ground, barely fighting the Satan forces. It was pretty much a now or never situation, a do or die life, lest everything they sacrificed would go down for nothing. Rizevim, the resistance is dead, the war is over, and when I kill you I will kill the last rebel. Sirzechs just sighed at the arrogant descendant. He knew that this fight would change the underworld for good or for worse. Sirzechs, every word you just said was wrong. With that, the final battle between the last Satan descendant and the rebel leader who is still standing begins. It is pretty much that only one of them will survive, only one of their ideals will be shown to the world. It is now or never. But how did everything reach to this point? Let's rewind a day before the final battle began. Flashback. Sirzechs had just visited the Gremory mansion. As soon as he entered, he saw the lack of servants and guards. Fearing for the worst, he had entered his house. It had been weeks since he had entered the house of his parents, his childhood home where he had grown up. He immediately rushed home to check whether his parents were alive. He wished for them to hold on. Already Lord Bale was dead thanks to a certain suicide bomber. Sirzechs' mother, father. Sirzechs could see the house that was once his childhood home was now stained with the color red. The smell of decayed and rotting flesh could be seen all around the house. Whoever came here murdered and destroyed everything. There were servants and soldiers whose bodies were decapitated and killed, maids who had fates far worse than deaths. Even his close caretakers who he had grown up with were murdered in cold blood. Sirzechs could only fear the worst for his parents. He knew who did this. He knew that he must find any survivor. But in reality, no one did. Everyone had only wished for death. This was truly this man's worst nightmare. He knew that he needed to find his parents fast. Considering that they are strong, they may be able to survive, but boy was he wrong. He entered his parents' chambers only to find his father's head on a pike. He only had his hands on his mouth. He started to worry for his mother. He tried to find her only to find her lying on the ground. He went towards her in a hurry to check whether she is still alive or not. Thankfully she is, but not for long. She was completely mangled. Vanellina was completely mangled. Her hands were on the chair along with the legs that were completely severed. She was completely scared on her face. He knew that she did not have much. Sirzechs could only cry and weep at his mother's condition and his father's demise. He only felt helpless as he watched his parents' mangled corpses. His mother could only barely say the words. Vanellina, stay safe soon. With that, Vanellina passes away from her wounds. Sirzechs cries and screams Rizevim's name and cradles his parents' body. A few hours later. The armies are prepared on both sides. They knew that this is now or never. Either they live or they die. At the capital city of Lusifad, we can see Rizevim sitting on his throne laughing. He clearly knew that this would hurt Sirzechs mentally. He knew that by torturing and killing his parents, he could easily break him, thus allowing the rebellion to weaken. Rizevim approaches his father's side. He knew that his father has started to go insane. He decided to confront him, traumatized by the gore and atrocities he committed. Rizevim, son, is something wrong. Rizevim, why did you kill them, father? Rizevim, listen up, son. Devils are beings that have to be evil, wicked, brutal, bad, scum, wrong, brute, and vicious. Fighting for what's right is something what these low-class rebels are doing. That is something that a justice would do. You know, beings like humans and angels. And what are we? You do know we are evil and bad existences. Then isn't it obvious what we have to do? This is an actual quote from the light novels, and it was directed towards Issei. Rizevim, but father, why torture them? I mean, a simple cut to the throat would have been more than enough. I mean, isn't it kind of too much like, as in how can you have a straight face after murdering, no, brutally torturing those Gremorys, father? Rizevim, son, come here. Little did Rizevim know that his father had a sinister smile on his face. He decided to approach him since disobeying his father can easily get himself killed. Rizevim then creates a magic-based sword in his hand and stabs his own son. This act shocks his son, who is completely shocked and unaware of his father's actions. I do not own Dragon Ball or the image. Rizevim, but why, father? Rizevim, because son. I do not own Naruto Shippuden or the image. Rizevim, weakness disgusts me. With that, Rizevim leaves the throne room, but not before hearing what Rizevim had to say. Rizevim, you know, father, always remember, karma is going to come collect your debt. 2 hours later. The current government of the Maoist families had been ignored, with the resistance army advancing into the capital city of Lusifad. The remaining forces of the 6 armies of families descended from Lucifer, and the Beelzebub army could not resist the impulse provoked by the aces, Sirzechs, Adrika, and Falbium. Soon they were all defeated. Sirzechs, Adjuka, and Falbium entered the capital and started to take over main facilities, and eventually arrived at the Vidraid-Varsharn Beelzebub Palace. The fight had already begun, with great auras flying around the palace. On guard on the palace floor was Vidraid-Varsharn Beelzebub, who extended his 12 wings while emanating a strong aura. However, he had to face Sirzechs, converted to the Beast of Destruction. Sirzechs' power in its true form was frightening. He defeated Mao Beelzebub's son without help. Vidraid's attacks were completely useless, as they were nullified by the power of Sirzechs' destruction. To hit even one of Sirzechs' attacks would be fatal. Vidraid had already lost an arm, a leg, and half of his wings, and was bleeding badly. His defeat was inevitable. Sirzechs was completely beating Mao Beelzebub's son. His affiliates watched the attack in fear of Sirzechs' powers, and when Vidraid landed on the ground and knelt, his fate was sealed. Sirzechs, do you want to reconsider? Vidraid laughed slightly. I don't know when to resign, do I, Prince Gremory? I won't recognize you. I will be the new Mao, and I will continue with my father's wishes to defeat Michael and Azazel once and for all. Upon hearing his stubborn words, Sirzechs launched a sphere of destruction at Vidraid, and while he was disappearing, he uttered his last words. Vidraid, the blood and wrath of the Maoists will always be against you. And with that, Beelzebub's son, Vidraid-Varsharn Beelzebub, disappeared. Adjuka, now only one is left. Sirzechs, while emanating an aura of destruction, Rizevim. Falbium, calm down Sirzechs, we will take him down once and for all. Sirzechs, you are right guys, let's rest for a few hours and then continue. Present time. Light and magical powers were thrown at each other. Sirzechs entered his power of destruction form and was giving Rizevim a run for his money. Rizevim, despite being a super devil, was unable to keep up with Sirzechs' attacks. Sirzechs, you will pay for every single crime you have committed, Rizevim. Rizevim, how are you this strong, you damn low-class Gremory? Sirzechs, I trained myself to reach the position where I am, unlike you who used to flaunt his power in front of everyone in an attempt to demoralize them. I reached this level with sheer overtraining myself, and unlike you, I did not sit around and betray and abandon the people around me. I will strike you down no matter what happens, even if it costs me my life. You will suffer. Rizevim, no, I will not lose to you, Gremory. The battle continues and no side is backing out. Adjuka and Falbium were already on their last breaths. They were unable to keep up with the super devils that were destroying everything around them left, right, and center. Punches and kicks were thrown around everywhere. All low-class devils were disintegrated. Middle-class devils were still alive but kept their distance from them fighting. High and ultimate class devils were still keeping up with the fighting but were also being overwhelmed by the fighting going on. Soldiers were dying, yet both sides were unable to stop the fighting from continuing. Both Adjuka and Falbium were getting overwhelmed by the troops riling up on them. Several were ultimate class devils that managed to keep up with the two main resistance leaders. They eventually overwhelmed the duo and finally killed them. In their last breaths, they managed to weaken and kill most of the ultimate and high-class devils in the Mao's army, and finally were able to bring the opposing army down to just low-class devils, as well as devil soldiers that could be easily dealt with. Both eventually collapsed due to the strain of fighting for hours long without any rest. Sirzechs, no, Falbium, Adjuka. Rizevim, HHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHwell, what have we here? Looks like another of your friends were wiped out from my troops. There is nothing you could do. Might as well give up and die by my hand. Sirzechs now had his hair covering his face. He deflected Rizevim's attack with ease. He appeared to be calm despite losing everything. Power was radiating everywhere around the Gremory prince. He knew that he had to kill the monster in front of him. Consequences be damned. Rizevim will die tonight or he will die trying. He cannot unleash that monster in the world, or else all angels, fallen angels, and possibly other mythologies will fall to his command. His actions will lead the world to chaos. Sirzechs once again entered into his power of destruction form and was able to overwhelm Rizevim. He has had enough of the Lucifer descendant's existence. The man who could kill his own son in cold blood, kill his loyal servant and many other people for his sadistic pleasure is beyond redemption. There is no hope or change for this man. He must stop this man with all his effort, otherwise everything, every sacrifice and every death would go for nothing. Rizevim coughing up blood. Oh wow, baby devils hit harder than you, Gremory. Are you really that weak? Sirzechs ignored him and continued beating on him. His every single punch broke through his spells. He could not keep up with the assault. He had to think something fast or else his dream of the world in chaos will never continue to be into reality. He had to kill Sirzechs before it is too late. Sirzechs did not give him time to think. He kept his onslaught, and eventually Rizevim started to tire out. Sirzechs wasted no opportunity in stopping his attack. He started to break Rizevim's bones, and eventually his magical power started to tear and disintegrate his flesh. Rizevim had to think something or else he would perish. Rizevim, please stop, I beg you. No more cough. You have one. Please stop. Cough. Sirzechs, no, Rizevim, you have gone too far. You have taken too many lives, from Grayfia to my parents, my friends, and finally even your own son, to realize your own selfish dream. It is over. Now repent your sins in the deepest parts of hell. Rizevim, could it be that I'll end up like how Damnatus and Vidraid did, being defeated by you like this? Sirzechs, yes, now begone, ruin of extinction. Rizevim started to scream as his full body started to tear down and disintegrate on a molecular level. He could not keep up with the attack Sirzechs threw at him. In a little as a few seconds, Rizevim was no more. It was finally all over. Sirzechs lied down due to exhaustion. The war had taken everything away from him. He now had nothing left to lose. He decided to leave the devil faction altogether and start a life somewhere else, somewhere safe. Aftermath. Augars, are you sure about this, Sirzechs? We need you to lead. Sirzechs, I am sorry, Lord Augars, but the underworld is all yours. The war has taken everything from me. I want to live the rest of my life in peace. Augars, well, I will not force you to lead, although if you wish to come back, the throne of Lucifer is all yours. Sirzechs, thank you, Lord Augars. And with that, Sirzechs leaves the underworld in charge of the Lord Augars. He later becomes aware that Lord Sitri later had a daughter whom they named Sona. Serafal would be happy to meet her little sister. He just wished he had a sister brother he could spoil. However, that will not be the case since his family is long dead. His friends are long dead. Now he lives the rest of his life in solitude and peace in a field of corn and life. He has decided to live the rest of his life in solitude. The end.